Chapter 400. Yiruoshui was very anxious, extremely anxious, especially when he sensed that Master Divine Butcher was constantly teleporting towards the hidden island at a speed that was several times faster than his. His heart was burning with anxiety. Song City was tens of thousands of miles away from the hidden island. At his cultivation level, he would need to teleport more than 10 times to teleport the furthest distance. However, Master Divine Butcher only needed to teleport 2 or 3 times from the Divine City. When his divine sense locked onto Yi Qinghan and transmitted a message to him, he realized that Master Divine Butcher was already halfway there. Although he vaguely knew that Yi Qinghan seemed to have a unique treasure that could mysteriously disappear from the Flame Dragon Plain, he wasn't sure what Master Divine Butcher was up to. However, he was still extremely worried and even afraid. When Yi Qinghan heard the 3 transmitted messages and felt the chill that enveloped the surroundings, he shuddered and suddenly woke up. "Quick! Enter the Carefree Pavilion." He suddenly turned to look at the 3 startled women and swiped his carefree ring. A golden door appeared in the sky above the hidden city. At this moment, Yi Qinghan didn't dare to hide anything, nor did he dare to ask Elder Lu to bring them to the Purple Island. After all, compared to the Purple Island, the Carefree Pavilion was the safest place, and Elder Lu's transmitted message proved this point. Yi Qinghan bellowed. Yi Qingyu was the most obedient. Without saying anything, she dashed into the golden door at lightning speed and disappeared into the black hole within the door. Yu Qingcheng was also stunned. Without thinking much, she followed Yi Qingyu into the golden door and disappeared. "What's the matter, little Han?" Yi Qingwu hesitated for a moment and asked in a slightly surprised tone. This hesitation scared Yi Qinghan so much that his face turned ashen. Without saying anything, he pulled Yi Qingwu and dashed towards the golden door. Swish! Suddenly, a translucent giant golden hand appeared out of thin air in the western sky of the hidden city. A dazzling light illuminated the entire hidden city, and a massive pressure made everyone in the hidden city feel as if the world was about to be destroyed. The extremely oppressive aura made everyone in the hidden city feel as if their hearts were about to stop beating. This translucent golden hand broke through the air. Its speed was quite fast, and its target was very clear. It directly grabbed at Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu, who were heading towards the golden door. It seemed as if it wanted to directly grab the 2 of them. Jia jia jia. Following a terrifying cry, a red figure appeared out of thin air behind the translucent golden hand. On top of the big red robe was a huge bald head with strange tattoos. His eyes, one red and one black, were filled with cruelty and coldness. That was close. Baldy, it's a pity that you were a step too late. Yi Qinghan looked back quickly, but he did not stop. Before the golden hand reached him, he had already rushed to the golden door. He snorted and thought that it was close. If he had been half a step too late, he would have been finished. Elder Lu had said that as long as one entered the unfettered pavilion, even a god king might not be able to break through the parallel space, let alone Master Divine Tuesday. Is that so? Jia jia jia. Master Divine Tuyi's red and black eyes flashed with a hint of amusement. As soon as he finished his sharp words, the giant golden hand grabbed at the golden door. As the giant golden hand grabbed at the door, Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu had already entered the unfettered pavilion. Half of their figures had already disappeared into the black hole within the door. In the next second, they would disappear into the air and reappear in the unfettered pavilion. What? However, at this moment, Yi Qinghan suddenly cried out involuntarily. He was horrified to realize that the scene before them did not change to the beautiful scenery of the unfettered pavilion like before. In front of them was still darkness behind the door. Furthermore, he realized that both of them could not move. This, Elder Lu, what's going on? This time, Yi Qinghan was truly afraid. This was the fear of facing the unknown and the unknown situation. This was a fear of not being in control and not being able to control himself. He and Yi Qingwu were actually stuck at the entrance of the passage leading to the Carefree Pavilion. They couldn't enter or retreat. This was the spatial passage that connected to the carefree pavilion. If anything happened, the two of them would instantly be crushed by the spatial turbulence. Jia Jia Jia. It's actually a spatial divine weapon. It's actually the legendary spatial divine weapon. It seems like the 12th divine sword is indeed with you. The heavens did not betray me. The heavens did not betray me. Master Divine 2, he looked at the golden door that his translucent golden hand was holding. He looked at the two people inside the door and the endless void beyond the door. Suddenly, he thought of something and laughed hysterically. His sharp voice made everyone in the hidden city tremble. Some of the people with lower cultivation levels in the city bled from their 7 orifices and fainted. Even countless ships at the pier started to sway slightly because of this terrifying scream. Countless people in the hidden city started to feel afraid. They had heard of the power of a god-level expert. However, everything that had just happened had shocked them. That mysterious golden door and that golden hand had made their souls tremble. Everything about this terrifying red-robed Baldy made them feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Before Master Divine 2, he had appeared, the 13 elders had surrounded Yinling immediately when they sensed the chill enveloping the hidden city. At the same time, they descended rapidly and hid in a corner of the streets of the hidden city. They started to look at everything that was happening in the sky in fear. They had seen the island lord of the hidden island attack, but it was nothing compared to this golden hand. Yinling's incomparably cold face finally paled at this moment. Looking at the giant hand in the sky and the two figures inside the golden door, her big eyes did not dare to blink. Her beautiful eyes were filled with fear and terror. This, young Master Han. Hua Chao's beautiful big eyes were filled with worry other than fear. Her whole body started to tremble unconsciously. Beads of sweat dripped continuously from her forehead and landed on the shaking deck and Ru Yan's trembling hands. This is troublesome. Elder Lu's voice transmission sounded in Yi Qinghan's mind. It was like a life-saving straw that gave Yi Qinghan a glimmer of hope. However, the next sentence caused his mood to plummet to the bottom of the valley. We're too late. The Carefree Pavilion and the Flame Dragon Dimension are two parallel spaces, and the Carefree Ring is a passageway that connects these two spaces. However, the Master Divine is using the will of the Flame Dragon Dimension to suppress this passageway, causing the space in the passageway to become chaotic. You guys are in the passageway now, so if he doesn't retract his will, you guys won't be able to enter or leave. Most importantly, the passageway is chaotic, so I can't get out. What should we do? Aren't we just waiting for death? Yi Qinghan instantly understood. The current situation was like being in an elevator in his previous life. However, Master Divine 2 had turned off the electricity in the entire building. You guys are safe for now. This Carefree Ring was refined by the Soul Emperor. No one can enter that door, and any attacks will be automatically neutralized by the Soul Emperor's restriction. Elder Lu continued to transmit his voice solemnly. We just don't know if this Master Divine has any special abilities. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe. Chapter 401. Temporarily safe? When Yi Qinghan heard this, his heart calmed down a bit. He used his spiritual sense to sense the situation outside and discovered that the translucent giant hand could only hold the door, but it couldn't make any changes to the door. He sent a voice transmission to Yi Qingwu, telling her not to worry and that Elder Lu was thinking of a solution. Of course, the voice transmission was obviously to comfort Yi Qingwu. However, his mind was working quickly. Given the current situation, no one could save them. Elder Lu couldn't get out. The island lord of the hidden island obviously wouldn't help him. Otherwise, he would be killed or even razed to the ground by the enraged Master God. Lord Devour? If Lord Devour helped, they would definitely be saved. Moreover, Master God too wouldn't dare to resist. But would Lord Devour help? Recalling her cold words in the dark castle, he didn't have the slightest confidence. Then, only the God-grade expert from the House of Ares and Yi Ruoshui were left. As Yi Qinghan thought of Yi Ruoshui, he hoped that they wouldn't come. After all, they would be sending themselves to death if they came. At this thought, he realized that no one could save him. Was he going to be trapped like this forever? What? Just as he was vexed, he suddenly felt the surrounding temperature rise rapidly. Shocked, he quickly used his spiritual consciousness to check and felt a chill run down his spine. Mine. The divine sword is mine. The spatial divine item is mine. They're all mine. The heavens didn't let me down. Master God, too, who was hovering above the hidden city, lifted his head and laughed maniacally. His bright red robe, shiny bald head, and ferocious laughing face made the millions of people in the hidden city shudder. That's right, shudder. This person was like a demon from the 9 hells of purgatory. This person was like a demon from the legendary 9 hells of purgatory. One look at him could make people feel fear, panic, and despair. Oh no, this Master God too is actually comprehending the primary occult of fire. This is the 9 true fire. Oh no, he is forcefully refining the unfettered ring and erasing your soul imprint. Once the refinement is successful, all of us will die. Elder Lu's voice transmission caused Yi Qinghan's heart to sink to the bottom of the sea. Just now, the translucent golden hand outside suddenly emitted a blazing blue flame that engulfed the entire door. The golden radiance of the gate slowly began to dim under the burning of the blue flames. What should we do? What to do? What about Elder Lu? Yi Qinghan, who was enveloped by the blue flames, felt like he was back in the barbaric mountain range when he was pressed under the body of a level 3 saber-toothed tiger, smelling the stench coming from its huge mouth. Once again, he sensed the aura of death, that feeling of powerlessness and despair. He began to panic. There's no other way, unless Lord Devour intervened or someone interrupted Divine Master 2's attack. Otherwise, sooner or later, the carefree ring would be refined by him, and the carefree pavilion would be under his control. Sigh. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let you into the carefree pavilion. Even if I had to risk my life, I would have taken you to the Purple Island. Elder Lu was in the carefree pavilion, looking at Yu Qingcheng and Yi Qingyu, whose eyes were filled with fear. He couldn't maintain his calm and steady demeanor anymore. A trace of irritation flashed in his slender eyes, and the sparse beard on his chin trembled continuously. Plop! Elder, please save my brother and sister Xiaowu. What do you need me to do? Please tell me. Anything will do. Although Yi Qingyu didn't know what had happened, she knew that something big was going to happen from Yi Qinghan's expression and Elder Lu's irritation. She didn't hesitate to kneel before Elder Lu and pleaded resolutely. Elder, please save them. Yu Qingcheng could no longer maintain her calm demeanor. She followed Yi Qingyu and knelt down in front of Elder Lu. Unknowingly, tears flowed from her beautiful eyes, wetting her face and her peach-colored palace dress. You two girls, don't make trouble. I know how to save them if I can, right? Our only hope is that Lord Devour will help us. Otherwise, Elder Lu was so angry that he flung his sleeves and paced back and forth in the training room. After living with Yi Qinghan for several years, he had unconsciously regarded Yi Qinghan as his own grandson. Even if the Soul Emperor hadn't given him the order to protect the carefree pavilion's master, he would have risked his life to help. However, he couldn't get out now, so he could only be anxious. Yi Ruoshui had arrived a long time ago. However, he stood far away from the East Sea and didn't rush over impulsively. He knew that since Tu had taken action, and he had done so without any scruples, he wouldn't have any scruples. If that was the case, then he would definitely have nothing to fear. Just like how he did thousands of years ago during the Great War of Extinction. Hundreds of God-level experts on the continent were all killed by him. Only a few God-level experts who were scared out of their wits were left to manage the 3 mansions under his instructions. They helped him stabilize the hearts of the 3 clansmen, kept the people of the continent in captivity, and provided him with an endless supply of souls. Although he didn't know why Yi Qinghan was locked in that golden door, didn't know why God Master 2 was wearing a fiery red robe, didn't know why Yi Qinghan was fine under the translucent hand and the blue flame. He knew that Yi Qinghan was in danger and could die at any moment. Lord, please save Lil Han. Yi Ruoshui is willing to pay any price. Suddenly, Yi Ruoshui knelt toward the north. Her divine sense spread toward the north and locked onto the woman on the balcony of the dark castle. At the same time, she transmitted her voice respectfully. The other four god-level experts of the House of Ares were dashing toward this place. However, he had stopped their foolish behavior immediately. Facing the crazy god master too, even if all the god-level experts of the continent came here, they would still have to die. At this moment, his only hope was the woman reading a book in the dark castle. Only her, only Lord Devour, could save this dangerous situation. You can't afford the price I have to pay. So, I won't help you. However, his fiery heart was extinguished by Lord Devour's cold words. His divine sense found that Lord Devour didn't even put down the book in his hand. His face didn't change. He just sent a cold voice to Yi Ruoxue. This, Lord, if you don't help him, little Han will die. Are you going to? Yi Ruoxue didn't want to give up. She tried to press down the fear and worry in her heart, trying to sound as calm as possible. She wanted to ask Lord Devour to save Yi Qinghan for Xiao Hei's sake. However, as she recalled Lord Devour's cold voice, she couldn't say it out loud. Whether he dies or not, what does it matter to me? What do we have to do with each other? I've told him that I've paid back the favor I owed him. Even if he dies, I'll just take action to take Xiao Hei away. Does he think that he can be absolutely safe with that lousy, unfettered ring? He's so arrogant. Who can he blame if he dies? Since he made a mistake, he should take responsibility. Lord Devour's faint voice came to her without any emotional fluctuation. It was as if he was talking about a trivial matter, as if Yi Qinghan didn't have anything to do with her. Oh, Lord, please show me the way. If I can save little Han, I'm willing to pay any price. Yi Ruoxue understood that Lord Devour wouldn't help him. Now, she could only count on him to show her what she should do to save Yi Qinghan. Sigh, listening to Yi Ruoxue's stubborn words, Lord Devour's mood finally changed. However, he just sighed and sent her a cold voice. It's simple. If you help him, Yi Qinghan can live. Chapter 402. Me? Yi Ruoxue's white brows arched like a treasured sword being unsheathed. His aura rocketed, and the cold air was pressing. Pondering for a while, he slowly stood up and sent a message to Lord Devour. I got it. Thank you for your advice. Watch who is going. Then, Yi Ruoxue touched the spatial ring on his finger. A divine sword sparkled in divine light, appearing in his hand. Then, he smiled and disappeared from the sky above the East Sea. Sir, you don't care? Yi Ruoxue will die. On the rooftop of the dark castle, Madame Jiu appeared behind Lord Devour. Her face wasn't as elegant as usual. She was a little bit stern, clasping her hands to greet Lord Devour. What does his death have to do with me? Jiu, you're meddling too much. Lord Devour didn't turn his head around. He didn't even move his body. He was still holding the book, talking faintly. It's none of your business, sir. But little Han will hate you after this. Madame Jiu pouted her red, fox-like mouth, trying to persuade Lord Devour. What a joke. Yi Qinghan can respect me or hate me. What does it have to do with me? Do you know how many people in the divine world hate me? How many of them respect me? If I have to take action just because someone respects you, begs you, or hates you, won't I die of exhaustion? Lord Devour smiled, mocking himself. Sir, I know you're not such a heartless person. Although you always look cold, I know that your heart is definitely not that cruel. I can feel it, sir. Madame Jiu couldn't help but speak her mind, begging. Sigh. If he doesn't experience some things, Yi Qinghan will never grow up. Lord Devour had a gleam of reluctance on his face. He shook his head and sighed, lifting his head to look at the east. He said faintly, I have my reasons. If I were omnipotent, I wouldn't stay in this small fire dragon plane. You'll know it later. It's over. It's all because of me. It's all because of my carelessness. Yi Qinghan's heart was filled with bitterness and regret as he watched the golden light on the gate become dimmer and dimmer under the blue flames. He had been too careless, thinking that he would be invincible in the fire dragon continent just because he had the unfettered ring. But now it didn't matter if he died. He was never afraid of death. But now, he might implicate the three ladies and Elder Lu. Thinking of this, his heart suddenly ached. It was incomparably painful. Some mistakes could not be made. However, he could not make such a mistake. The consequences were too severe, so severe that he could not bear it. I'm sorry, Xiao Wu. I'm sorry, Qingsheng. I'm sorry, Xiao Yu. I'm sorry, Old Lu. And I'm sorry, Xiao He. It's all because of me, because of me. As time passed, when the golden light of the gate was about to disappear, Yi Qinghan completely despaired. Lord Devour hadn't shown up yet, and no one could save him. No one could save him. Kikik. The divine sword finally belongs to me. With the divine sword, I can go back openly. I will take back everything that belongs to me. And the Golden Horn God tribe, don't worry. One day, I will annihilate your entire tribe. If I don't kill all of you, I can't quell the flame of anger in my heart. Seeing the light on the gate fade, Lord Devour didn't show up. Finally, he felt relieved, his face getting more excited. It had been so many years, and he had endured so much humiliation and suffering. And now he was about to succeed. Damn perverted Baldy, here's what you want. Let him go. Divine Lord too wanted to increase his strength and refine this spatial divine item by force. However, at this moment, the space behind him suddenly shook. Then, a faint voice arose. Damn perverted Baldy? Upon hearing this form of address, Master God Butcher almost went berserk. However, he suppressed this impulse and turned back to look coldly. When he saw Yi Ruohai holding a shining divine sword, he was stunned. His red and black pupils twinkled. After a while, the corners of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Yi Ruohai, don't worry. Later, I will make you die miserably. Kikik, you want to fool me with a fake divine sword? Curse me, damn perverted Baldy. I have a lot of fake divine swords. Should I give you some? Lord Devour wasn't a fool. Although the God-slaying guard had said that there was a 10% chance that the real divine sword was with Yi Ruohai, he didn't want to stop refining Yi Qinghan's spatial divine item. Even if it was with Yi Ruohai, so what? After refining the spatial divine item, he would kill Yi Ruohai. You fool! You're so stupid. How could my kid carry the divine sword with him? Stupid pig! Let him go, and I'll give you the divine sword. Otherwise, Yi Ruohai's white eyebrows twitched. She actually revealed her dominance and started scolding. This scolding scared everyone in the hidden city silly. Lord Devour had already shocked them so much that they didn't dare to move. Now, someone even more ferocious came. The moment he arrived, he scolded the damn perverted Baldy. Now, his every word was cursing. Old ancestor, hurry up and leave. You are no match for him. You will die. Yi Qinghan woke up abruptly when he heard that familiar voice. He was elated, but a moment later, it was replaced by endless fear. However, the spiritual consciousness of a sage was different from that of a god-tier expert. He only locked onto Yi Ruohai and transmitted the message. Little Yi, don't do anything stupid. You will die for nothing. At this moment, the hidden island lord, who had been motionless by the sea, finally couldn't help but take the risk to transmit a message to Yi Ruohai. If Yi Ruohai did this, not only would she not be able to help Yi Qinghan, but she would also lose her life for nothing. Mwahaha! Lord Devour didn't get angry when he heard Yi Ruohai. Instead, he laughed. The blue flame on his translucent gold hand burned brighter. He mocked Yi Ruohai, or else what? Even if you have the real divine sword, so what? After I refine it, I will kill you directly. Isn't the divine sword mine? If I want to kill someone who dares to stop me, harumph! Damn perverted Baldy. If you're so stubborn, don't blame me. I can only offer the divine sword to Lord Devour and ask him to kill you for me. Just wait for your death. Yi Ruohai didn't respond to Yi Qinghan and the Hidden Island Lord. Instead, she said something to Lung Lung and Lord Devour. Then, she retrieved the divine sword and teleported to the north, disappearing from the sky of the hidden city. This, Lord Devour's face changed. His soul consciousness sensed that Yi Ruohai had appeared several hundred miles away in the north. He was frightened. If Yi Ruohai used the divine sword to ask for Lord Devour's help, the consequences would be unimaginable. Just as he was feeling a little hesitant and afraid, he suddenly discovered something that made him even more puzzled. Why didn't Yi Ruoshui teleport to the north? Why did she teleport to this place? No, he was tricked. Bang! Master God, Tu Yi's red and black eyes widened abruptly. His body reacted instantly and teleported away. At the same time, a dazzling light shone at the place he was at. A huge firework bloomed above the hidden city. Lil Han, take care of yourself. Don't think about taking revenge for me. Don't worry about the Yi family. I've arranged everything. What you need to do is to go to Purple Island and cultivate hard. Then, go to the immortal world to fulfill our wish. Don't feel sad for me, because my death is worthwhile. I've saved the hope of the Yi family, the hope of the Fire Dragon continent. You'll always be the pride of the Yi family. Great ancestor. No. The moment Yi Ruoshui transmitted her voice, Yi Qinghan realized that he could move his body. The unfettered ring automatically transported them into the unfettered pavilion. He heard a loud noise and turned around in fright. However, all he saw was a blossoming firework. At this moment, he felt that his heart was bleeding. He started to howl in pain. Chapter 403. Bang! Everyone in the hidden city heard the loud roar in their ears and looked at the glaring light in the sky. They felt the ground of the entire hidden city tremble, and the houses shook violently before they began to collapse. At this moment, it was as though doomsday had arrived. Countless people began to scream wildly, run around, and cry bitterly. Swish! TSK, TSK, TSK. Motherf asterisk cur, Motherf asterisk cur. I'm so angry, so angry. After the explosion, a red figure appeared again at the same spot. He looked at the empty sky. He was thoroughly enraged. His divine senses radiated in all directions and carefully scanned the mainland more than 10 times. After confirming that Yi Qinghan had completely disappeared from this plane, he roared furiously. At the same time, a huge translucent hand appeared in front of him and swung down at the hidden city. Divine Lord, please calm down. The Hidden Island Lord's figure appeared in front of the 13 elders and Yin Ling when the huge hand condensed. Seeing that the Divine Lord didn't seem to hear him and the huge hand continued to swing down, the Hidden Island Lord sighed helplessly. He didn't dare to resist and teleported away with everyone. Bang! The giant hand smashed heavily into the center of the hidden city, leaving a huge handprint in the middle of the city. All the buildings and people that were enveloped by the huge hand were instantly turned into ashes. Smoke and dust rose and dyed the entire sky of the hidden city gray. At that moment, the entire hidden island shook slightly. The sea outside the hidden city surged and overturned countless ships at the dock. It was as though doomsday had arrived. Ah, devil, he's a devil. Run, the hidden island is going to sink. The entire hidden city was in an uproar. The entire hidden island was shaken. Countless people screamed and ran. Countless people were scared silly. Countless people were injured, and countless people died. TSK, TSK. In the future, the hidden island will participate in the prefecture battle with 200,000 participants each time. One less hidden island won't exist. Divine Lord 2 didn't even look at the hidden city. Instead, he turned to the Hidden Island Lord and said with a hideous smile. Then he teleported away. Join the prefecture battle? The island master of Hidden Island had just teleported to the beach where he usually fished when he felt the countless broken walls and broken tiles, as well as countless broken limbs that had been smashed into minced meat. Hearing the Divine Master Tu Dao's overbearing announcement, his face turned ashen as if he had aged dozens of years in an instant. Dead? All dead? Yin Ling looked at the sky with great disappointment. After the huge explosion, the gate in the sky and the 2 people inside had all disappeared. An indescribable emotion welled up in her heart. Uncle Ro, where is young Master Han? Young Master Han? Hua Chao hugged the shivering Ru Yin. Both of them were covered in seawater. Just now, the ship had been capsized by the sudden wave. With the help of Hua Ro and the others, the two of them managed to reach the shore and hide in a nearby courtyard. Fear flashed in Hua's eyes as she looked at the empty sky. She grabbed Hua Ro's hand and spoke nervously. I'm not sure, but there are only two possibilities. Either young Master Han disappeared like the two young ladies, or he disappeared, or in the explosion. Sigh. Hua Ro licked her lips and realized that it was filled with the salty and fishy taste of seawater. It was very bitter. After a moment of hesitation, she said, Young Master, we can't stay here anymore. We have to return to Luo, Hua City, immediately. The explosion came too suddenly. When the strong light shone, everyone was temporarily blinded. No one discovered what exactly had exploded. Hua Chao looked at Ru Yin, who was scared out of her wits, then at the increasingly chaotic hidden city. He sighed helplessly and said, All right, we'll return to Luo, Hua City first. Leave two people behind to gather information about young Master Han. Report back immediately if there's any news. Hua Ro immediately arranged for two secret guards to gather information. Instead of looking for an intact ship, she and the other Emperor-level secret guards brought the two people and flew towards the west. Yi Tianlong had just refined the divine crystal not long ago and had been cultivating in seclusion in the pavilion at the back of the mountain. Today, he had just sorted out the esoteric knowledge in his mind and wanted to comprehend the esoteric immediately so that he could become a god as soon as possible. However, he suddenly felt an inexplicable palpitation. It was a palpitation and fear that came from the depths of his soul. Yi Tianlong suddenly opened his eyes. As an expert of the sage realm, he had a natural instinct to avoid danger and to foresee it. The palpitation and fear were so obvious and intense. It was the first time in his life that he had encountered such a thing, so he was obviously shocked and afraid. Without thinking carefully, he immediately stood up and dashed out of the room. However, he saw Yi Qingyou and Yi Baihu looking worried as they walked towards his room. You guys felt it too? Yi Tianlong clenched his palms and realized that they were all sweaty. The three of them felt it at the same time. This meant that something big was about to happen, or it had already happened. Clan leader, contact the elder ancestor. I feel that something big is about to happen. Yi Qingyou's bulging eyes kept blinking. He looked very worried, but he didn't dare to say anything for fear that he would be right. Yi Tianlong didn't waste any time. He immediately took out a jade talisman and started to transmit his voice. However, his expression became increasingly solemn as he transmitted his voice. In the past, Yi Ruoshui would transmit her voice promptly, but this time she didn't transmit her voice for a long time. Buzz! At that moment, the air in the room rippled. Just as the three of them thought that Yi Ruoshui had teleported over and were about to pay their respects, they discovered that it was a beautiful woman in a white robe. They couldn't help but be stunned. Sky Dragon, your elder ancestor, has self-detonated. Right now, Divine Master 2 is very likely to head towards the Yi family. You should come with me immediately. The person who had just arrived was Yushishue. Her face was filled with sorrow, and her voice was extremely grave. Her eyes, however, were filled with a trace of pleading. What? The three of them turned pale. Yi Tianlong was so shocked that he couldn't even hold the jade talisman firmly. It fell to the ground with a crisp clang. Yi Tianlong's expression flickered several times as his mind spun rapidly. He knew that Yushishue wouldn't joke around with something as serious as this. Regardless of what had happened, there were at least two things that could be confirmed. First, Yi Ruoshui was dead, and second, Divine Master 2 was very likely to come and wipe out the Yi family. Shishue, hurry and leave. If possible, help me take care of the Yi family's disciples. Hurry and leave. He didn't think for long before giving Shishue a deep look. Then, he turned to Yi Qingyou and Yi Baihu and howled angrily. You two idiots, what are you waiting for? Run! As the leader of the Yi family, I order you to get out of Song City. Immediately. Sky Dragon, clan leader, Yu Shishue, Yi Qingyou, and Yi Baihu cried out involuntarily. Yu Shishui didn't say anything else when she saw the resolute expression on Yi Tianlong's face. She gave Yi Tianlong a deep look, then immediately teleported away. She and Yi Tianlong were the same kind of people. They were more rational than emotional, and they were willing to give up everything for the sake of their clan, including their emotions, including their lives. Clan leader, take care. Yi Qingyo and Yi Baihu simultaneously sighed as they stared at the crazed Yi Tianlong. Without any hesitation, the two of them shot out of Song City. They were well aware that Yi Tianlong was the leader of the Yi family. If the Divine Master wanted to exterminate the Yi family, then there was no way that Yi Tianlong would be able to escape death. Their only option now was to escape and live on. They would lead the elite disciples of the Yi family, who had been hiding for a long time, to endure hardships and ensure that the seeds of the Yi family would continue to grow. Buzz. However, just as Yi Qingyo and Yi Baihu flew out of the back mountains and out of Song City, the sky above Song City suddenly rippled. A bald man wearing a large red robe suddenly appeared in the sky. As the red figure appeared, a powerful pressure suddenly enveloped the entire Song City, causing everyone in the city to be unable to move at all. Yi Qingyo and Yi Baihu, who were flying in the air, were directly smashed into the ground, unable to move at all. Then, a piercing voice rang out, echoing through every corner of Song City. Clan leader of the Yi family, get out here right now. Chapter 404. Master Divine Butcher. Yi Tianlong stared at the fire-robed Baldy through the door of the pavilion. He forcefully suppressed the hatred in his eyes and tried his best to calm his expression before shouting, I am here. Yi Ruoxue was dead. Master Divine Butcher had arrived. Yi Tianlong didn't even need to guess to know that Yi Ruoxue must have died at Master Divine Butcher's hands. However, he didn't dare to attack or curse. He could only pretend that he didn't know anything and pretend to be calm. If Yi Ruoxue was dead, then who in the Yi family could stop that Baldy? He didn't want the entire Song City to be razed to the ground because of his impulsive actions. Kiki. Master Divine Butcher laughed sinisterly as his red and black eyes locked onto the pavilion in the back of the mountain. Then, without saying a word, he conjured the giant hand above the hidden city and smashed it down on the mountain behind the Yi family. However, this time, it was very slow, as if Master Divine Butcher wanted to see the look of fear on Yi Tianlong's face before his death. Or perhaps he was testing something. Patriarch, father, grandfather, every member of the Yi family in Song City heard Yi Tianlong's voice ring out from the back of the Yi family's mountain. Although they couldn't move their bodies, they could still feel the power of the giant hand crashing down on the back of the Yi family's mountain. They could all sense the boundless power contained in that giant hand. Their expressions changed drastically as they howled in fear. Ha! Yi Tianlong's expression greatly disappointed Master Divine Butcher as he faced the giant hand crashing down from the sky. Not only was he not afraid, but he also raised his head proudly and laughed. His aura suddenly surged, even though Master Divine Butcher's god domain was covering him. He turned his head slightly and faced the tranquil lake island. He laughed and shouted, "You Shishui, I'm going to go now. In my next life, I will definitely marry you." A desolate roar resounded through the entire back mountain of the Yi clan. It reverberated in the back mountain and echoed above Song City for a long time. Patriarch, father, grandfather. Hearing Yi Tianlong's roar, countless members of the Yi family in the city roared again. It was as if they wanted to use this roar to block the slowly descending giant hand. It was as if they wanted to use this roar to vent the extreme anger in their hearts. Next life, on the roof of the tranquil lake island's Happy Heart Pavilion, Yu Shishui was dressed in a moon-white robe. She had teleported back, but her divine sense had been focused on the mountain behind the Yi clan. After hearing Yi Tianlong's angry roar, she suddenly laughed. Her laughter was very bright and not forced at all. After quickly sending a few messages to the great elders of the Yu family, she suddenly removed her space ring and threw it into the Eason pavilion. Then, he cast a nostalgic glance at Tranquil Lake Island before he disappeared from the sky above Happy Heart Pavilion. Yu Shishue's ideals had always been greater than her emotions, and she had worked hard for the Yu clan all her life. After hearing Yi Tianlong's bold and domineering declaration, she could no longer suppress the madness that she had suppressed in her heart for decades. Once that soft spot in a woman's heart was touched, she would do anything and everything. Whoosh! Beneath the giant hand, a white figure glowing with golden light broke through the Divine Master's God domain and teleported in. Yu Shishue had a gentle smile on her face. She didn't say anything as she unleashed her own God domain, which enveloped the two of them. She rushed over like a gust of wind and hugged the wide-eyed Yi Tianlong. She said gently, "Tianlong, the next life is too long. Shishue cannot wait that long." Yi Tianlong's vision blurred. Then he felt a soft body suddenly hug him. When he heard this familiar voice, his hand froze in midair and trembled a few times. Then he hugged her tightly and fell silent. He closed his eyes, a soundless smile on his lips. "You Shishue, she sigh." Within a secret room in Dragon City, the spear god's wrinkled face was filled with helplessness. His lips moved as he sighed to the saber emperor beside him. The other three deities from the House of Ares had been using their divine senses to investigate the situation in Song City ever since Divine Master 2 had teleported to the city. Yi Ruoxue had already left. But now, sigh, the world is about to change. An incomparably desolate voice drifted over from the mountain cave outside the Driftsnow city. After that, silence reverted back to a deathly stillness. Sigh. A deep sigh came from the beautiful castle in the dark forest at this moment. Her face that seemed vague and clear at the same time was full of vicissitudes of life. After a while, she sighed again and said faintly, "If he could treat me like this in the past, I wouldn't mind even if I die. Forget it, forget it." The giant hand seemed to be moving slowly, but in the blink of an eye, it had already smashed down heavily. The giant hand covered the entire back mountain of the Yi family. The giant golden hand smashed several mountain peaks into smithereens. Then it continued to press downwards until the entire building complex was flattened. Buzz! The white wall behind the lake in the back mountain of the Yi family and the ancestral grave of the Yi family suddenly lit up with a blinding white light when the giant hand came crashing down. However, it only flickered for a moment before it completely dimmed. Bang! The entire Song City shook as if it had just experienced an earthquake. A huge sound reverberated through the heavens and the earth, ringing in the ears and hearts of countless Yi family disciples. No one screamed, no one cried, no one was in pain. There was only a deathly silence. Countless Yi family disciples tried their best to slowly raise their heads. They struggled to look up at the sky, at the bald man in the red robe. There was no anger or pain in their eyes, only hatred, boundless hatred. The Divine Master Butcher had killed the head of the Yi family and destroyed the sacred land and ancestral grave of the Yi family. This was a huge grudge. Killing Yi Tianlong was like stabbing them in the heart. Destroying the ancestral grave was like trampling on the glory and dignity of the Yi family. Kakik. This is the kind of expression I like to see the most. Kakik. The Divine Master Butcher laughed maniacally. His tall figure twisted and contorted as he laughed, his piercing voice echoing in all directions. But a moment later, his smile suddenly stopped, and a pair of strange eyes suddenly swept down. With one look, he cried out absent-mindedly, He's not dead? Not dead?" The Divine Master's sudden reaction jolted all the disciples of the Yi family awake. Yi Qingyou and Yi Baihu's eyes flashed with surprise and joy. However, they were unable to investigate anything under the cover of the Divine Master's domain. All they could do was stare at the Divine Master's expression. When Yi Tianlong heard the Divine Master's surprised exclamation, he suddenly opened his eyes and discovered that he was still tightly hugging Yu Shishue. A faint blue defensive barrier lit up around the two of them. Outside, however, was a complete mess. The surrounding mountains and buildings had all been razed to the ground, and even the water in the small lake in the distance had evaporated. He couldn't help but cry out in surprise, What's going on?" Yushi Shui suddenly let go of Yi Tianlong and smiled. She turned to look towards the north and said respectfully, "Someone, save us." Umph. The divine master butcher's expression shifted a few times. At the same time, he turned towards the north, his eyes flickering. "Everyone in the Yi family, listen up. Do not take a single step out of Song City, or else I will kill you." Of course, he knew very well who had intervened. Apart from that person, no one else had the ability to silently protect the two of them while he was attacking them with his will. After pondering deeply for a moment, he grunted heavily and left with these words before flicking his sleeve and teleporting away. Chapter 405. "Ah, young Master Dang, there's a new batch of goods. Shall we go take a look in the afternoon?" Of course, young Master Dang has been cultivating for 3 years, and his cultivation level has increased tremendously. He just came out of seclusion yesterday. How can we not celebrate? I'll pay for all the goods that young Master Dang likes. That's right, that's right. Young Master Dang broke through the first heaven in 3 years. This is the first heaven of the Emperor realm, other than young Mistress and young Master Sha. No one in the Hidden City can match this cultivation speed. In the biggest restaurant in the Hidden City, a group of young masters in bright clothes surrounded a handsome young master in white. They kept toasting and flattering him. The atmosphere was very lively. "Haha, this is not worth mentioning. Not worth mentioning." The white-clothed young master took a sip of the wine poured by the maid next to him and waved his hand as if he didn't care at all. However, his eyes were full of enjoyment. He paused for a moment and said, "These 3 years, I've been bored to death. Let's talk about this afternoon's matter in the afternoon. Let's drink and have some fun later." "All right. Is there any news of that malefic star in the past 3 years? My grandfather said that I must avoid this malefic star in the future. Otherwise, I'll be locked up for 3 years. Malefic star? Are you talking about the Yi Ching Han? Don't worry, young Master Dang. This person disappeared for 3 years and must be dead. The Divine City issued a Divine Master order 3 years ago. If he's found, he'll be rewarded with 10 divine weapons. Even if he's not dead, he must be hiding in that cave like a savage." That's right. He must be dead. Even a god-tier expert would die from such a violent explosion. This malefic star even dared to slap young Mistress. It'll be strange if he's not dead. The unbridled teasing attracted the attention of a few guests at a table in the corner. There were only 3 people sitting at this table, but there were 2 people standing beside each of them. It was obvious that they were the 3 people's guards. The 3 of them were wearing bamboo hats that were trending recently. They lowered their heads and drank their wine. However, their ears were slightly tilted as they listened to the conversation of the young masters. "Sigh, looks like young Master Han is in grave danger." A moment later, a man suddenly leaned forward slightly and raised his bamboo hat, revealing a fierce-looking face. "Sigh, I've sent people to look for you for 3 years, but you just don't believe me and insist on coming here. Crazy Miss Long, when do you think you can go back? This place is very chaotic. If my old man finds out that we sneaked here, I'll definitely be grounded again." Obviously, these 3 people were Feng Zi, Hua Hua, and Long Sainan. Half a month ago, Long Sainan had suddenly brought Feng Zi to Luohua City and asked him to bring them to the Hidden City. After Feng Zi and Hua Hua finished speaking, Long Sainan was silent for a long time. Then she sighed and said sadly, "Let's go back. I'll go to Song City to take a look and then go into closed-door training. I won't come out until I reach the Sage Realm. Take care of yourselves." "Go to Song City? Song City has been locked down. You're still going? Isn't it inappropriate?" Long Sainan's words caused Hua Hua, who was about to stand up, to sit down again. "Yes, Miss Long. The God-slaying guards have already brought people to guard that place for 3 years. If you go, you'll probably cause trouble for the Manor Lord, right?" Feng Zi also sat down and said worriedly, "Some things have to be seen. If the knot in my heart isn't resolved, How can I increase my cultivation? Let's go. Long Sinan sighed and stood up dispiritedly. Then she walked out. Hua Hua and Feng Zi stood up as well. They pressed down on the bamboo hats on their heads and nodded at the guards beside them. Then they walked out of the restaurant and disappeared into the sea of people in the hidden city. GG. Xiaohei, stop jumping around. You're making my eyes blur. In the front courtyard of the free and unfettered pavilion, a small, black, single-horned beast was jumping around in the garden. Amidst the colorful flowers, there were two fairy-like women sitting in a small pavilion. One of the women, dressed in red, stood in the pavilion and looked at the small beast in the garden. She pouted her small mouth in annoyance as she spoke. Sister Wu, don't be angry. Isn't Xiaohei bored? Sigh. He's been in the free and unfettered pavilion for 3 years. It would be strange if he isn't bored. The white-clothed woman, sitting on the white jade chair at the side, smiled helplessly and started to console the red-clothed woman. Bored? I'm about to go crazy. Little Han, you've been in the training room for 3 years. Why haven't you come out? Xiao Yu too. She went into closed-door training 2 years ago and hasn't come out yet. The woman in red walked out of the pavilion and fiddled with the leaves of a small tree that was as tall as a person. She looked very restless. Sister Wu, don't be angry. The woman in white stood up and walked over to hold the woman in red's hand. She looked at her sincerely with her black pearl-like eyes and said faintly, Qing'an definitely won't blame you for what happened 3 years ago. Didn't Elder Lu tell us? Qing'an recovered 2 years ago and is working hard to cultivate now. He's not coming out because he's cultivating. He's not blaming you. That's right. They were Yu Qingcheng, Yi Qingwu, and Xiaohei. 3 years ago, after entering the free and unfettered pavilion from the hidden city, they had been staying in the free and unfettered pavilion. Once Yi Qinghan entered the free and unfettered pavilion, he went straight into the training room and never came out again. 2 years ago, he asked Xiaohei to come out and sent a voice transmission to Elder Lu, which slightly calmed everyone down. After Xiaohei came out, Yi Qingyu went into closed-door training in her bedroom. Yu Qingcheng didn't go into closed-door training. Apart from accompanying Yi Qingwu in the free and unfettered pavilion, she played the zither by herself and cultivated her divine sound law. However, Yi Qingwu was deeply blaming herself. She blamed herself for being stunned in the sky above the hidden city. She always thought that Yi Ruoshui had died because of her, so she couldn't calm down and refine the divine crystal. Her temper was also becoming more and more irritable. I know. Yi Qingwu shook her head slightly, but the sparkles at the corner of her eyes betrayed her inner feelings. She wriggled her lips and said after a while, but I just can't forgive myself. I still miss my grandfather. I wonder how they are? It's useless no matter how much you think about it. All you have to do is cultivate. Apart from cultivating, what else can we do now? Yu Qingcheng gently stroked Yi Qingwu's hair. Although Yi Qingwu was older than her mind was still that of a young girl. She couldn't grow up. If not for Yu Qingcheng's comforting, she would have gone crazy by now. Just as she was about to continue comforting her, she suddenly looked up at the sky in surprise. Her black pearl-like eyes suddenly lit up, and she cried out in ecstasy, What is that? 7-colored auspicious clouds? Someone has become a god? Xiaohei, who was jumping up and down in the garden, suddenly stopped. He stared at the sky with his small black eyes, his expression full of joy. Boom! Just now, a small 7-colored cloud suddenly appeared in the sky above the free and unfettered pavilion. The essence chi in the free and unfettered pavilion suddenly became 100 times denser than usual. A purple lightning bolt shot out from the 7-colored cloud and disappeared into the free and unfettered pavilion. Then, the 7-colored cloud also began to dissipate, finally turning into nothingness. Who became a god? Little Han? When Yu Shishui became a god, Yi Qingwu's cultivation level was very low. Thus, she was stunned when she saw this strange scene for the first time. Only when the purple lightning fell and the cloud dissipated did she remember Yu Qingcheng's words. She couldn't help but open her eyes wide in joy. No! Yu Qingcheng smiled slightly and shook her head. It's little you. The auspicious signs of becoming a god are much bigger than this. Little you became a god by refining a divine crystal, so it's much smaller. But why did this seven-colored cloud and divine lightning appear in the free and unfettered pavilion? Let's go and take a look. Qing'an will probably come out of seclusion soon. Yi Qingwu was overjoyed when she heard this. She pulled Yu Qingsheng and ran into the free and unfettered pavilion. Xiaohe was already ahead of the two of them. He turned into a blur and flashed into the free and unfettered pavilion. Chapter 406. Of course, Yi Qinghan didn't blame Yi Qingwu. He blamed himself. He was never one to push the blame to others when something went wrong, not to mention the woman who pushed it to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked Elder Lu to tell Yi Qingwu and the others that he had untied the knot in his heart and was cultivating, so that they would be at ease. He didn't untie it. He had never untied it. He had always been in a state of deep self-blame. He blamed himself for being careless and hated himself for being arrogant. Yi Ruoshui had offered to teleport them to the Purple Island, but he had rejected her. He had also wanted to ask Elder Lu to teleport him to the Purple Island, but he had rejected the idea in the end. Instead, he had chosen to bring them to the Purple Island while sightseeing. Perhaps his idea and intention were not wrong, but the ending was very wrong. In the first 20 years of his life, although he had narrowly escaped death several times, he had always been able to escape danger at the last moment with a series of fortuitous encounters. Along the way, his luck had been heaven-defying. He had been invincible under Duan Ren Feng, reckless on the god-slaying mountains' heavenly road, frivolous in the barbaric mountains, and the massacre outside Song City. A 21-year-old sage, the continent's #1 genius, the #1 expert on the Earth list, the #1 person below the god realm. The admiration in everyone's eyes, the envy and jealousy in countless people's eyes, the endless praises from the god realm experts, and the unprecedented glory made him lose himself. It made him feel arrogant and wild, and made him forget the bright red color of the Yi family's castle. In the end, a dazzling firework bloomed above the hidden city. I saved the Yi family's hope, the Fire Dragon Continent's hope. You will always be the Yi family's pride. Every time he thought of Yi Ruoshui's words before she died, he had an urge to die. Pride. He was the Yi family's pride, the Fire Dragon Continent's pride. Bulsh *T. Without the soul ring, there was no Xiaohe. Yi Qinghan felt that he was a pile of Bulsh *T. A pile of Bulsh *T that the young masters of the Yi family were still wantonly trampling on. Without the soul ring, he would not be able to summon Xiaohe. Without the soul ring, he would still be a useless person with blocked meridians. Perhaps he would have already died in the barbaric mountains. Without Xiaohe, he was nothing. Perhaps he was not even qualified to be the seventh son of the Yi family. Perhaps at this moment he would still be in a small town belonging to the Yi family, living an ordinary life with Yi Qingyu, an apathetic life. The more he thought about it, the more he mocked himself, and the more he felt that he was worthless. He thought about his arrogant declaration in Duan Ren Feng, his tyrannical orders in Luotian Mountain, and how he acted cool in Barbarian City, Barbarian Mountain Range, Song City, and the Hidden City. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he was a pile of dog shit and an idiot. The more you act tough, the more you become a fool. In the first year, he hated himself, blamed himself deeply, and complained heavily. There were several times when he wanted to slap himself in the face. In the second year, he spent a year thinking clearly about one thing. He was an idiot, a worthless idiot. In the end, he spent another year and finally figured everything out. This wasn't a game. It wasn't an invincible cheat playing in another world. This was real life, and people could die. He was not alone now. There were too many people he needed to protect. If he did not keep a clear head at all times, perhaps someone would die in the next second. Perhaps it would be Yu Qingsheng, perhaps it would be Yi Qingwu, or perhaps it would be all of them. Boom! At this moment, a sudden clap of thunder rang in his ears. A scene of colorful clouds and purple lightning falling involuntarily appeared in his mind. After a moment, he suddenly laughed. His whole body relaxed, and he laughed from the bottom of his heart. He finally understood. The knot in his heart that had been entangled for 3 years was finally undone. His mind had finally grown up at this moment. There was no self-blame, no disappointment, no anger, and no hatred on his face. There was only a calm face and a flash of battle intent in his eyes. He stood up and walked out. Squeak, squeak. Xiaohei walked quickly through the unfettered pavilion, his face full of excitement and joy. His small body twisted and turned in the air, expressing his joy. Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingqing followed closely behind him and walked through the main hall. After turning out of the side hall, they came to a long corridor. This was where the bedrooms of the unfettered pavilion were located. 2 people and 1 beast walked straight to one of the bedrooms, only to find an old man in black standing at the door. His slender eyes were smiling at them, and Xiaohei. "Greetings, senior." Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingqing quickly bowed to greet him. Xiaohei followed suit and stood up straight. He clasped his paws together and gestured to Elder Lu in a funny manner. Let's wait. Little Yu is still digesting the teleportation skill. She doesn't need to condense divine crystals. She will be out soon. Little Yu has finally become a deity, a 23-year-old deity. Yi Qingwu bent down and picked up Xiaohei. She smiled at Elder Lu and exclaimed, "Lass, you can't settle down to cultivate. Otherwise, your speed of comprehension would be even faster than Little Yu's. If you don't work hard, Little Qingqing will catch up to you soon." Elder Lu chuckled. He had long regarded Yi Qinghan's 3 wives as his own granddaughters. Although his words seemed to be reprimanding Yi Qingwu, he was actually encouraging her to cultivate diligently. Qingqing is a cultivation genius. I don't even see her cultivating. She only plays the guqin every day and has already reached the peak of the imperial realm in 3 years. Her divine sound law is too strange. Of course, I will work hard. Qingqing, you have to work hard too. Yi Qingwu was influenced by Yi Qingyu's breakthrough, and her mood became much better. She stuck out her pink tongue and clenched her fists tightly. She swore in her heart that she would immediately go into seclusion after Yi Qinghan came out of seclusion. She would not come out of seclusion until she reached the deity realm. Yu Qingqing smiled and struck while the iron was hot. "Sister Wu, you can do it. Don't be shameful if you haven't become a god when I've already become one." Creak. As they were chatting, the door to the room opened slowly. A frail lady in white walked out with a gentle and warm smile on her pretty face. When she saw them, she immediately revealed an innocent and warm smile, making them feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. "Greetings, Elder Lu and Elder Sisters. Xiaohei, you are still so young." Yi Qingyu bowed to Elder Lu and patted Xiaohei's head with a smile. Congratulations, Little Yu. You have finally broken through to the deity realm and attained immortality. TSK. I realize that you've become a lot more beautiful." Yi Qingwu pulled Yi Qingyu over, held her hand, and carefully looked at her for a while before speaking mischievously. Yu Qingqing hurriedly held her other hand and congratulated her. Meanwhile, Xiaohei jumped from Yi Qingwu's arms to Yi Qingyu's and rubbed against her affectionately. "Elder? You're also a deity realm expert. Calling me Elder is a little confusing," Elder Lu said awkwardly as he stroked the sparse beard on his chin. After pondering for a moment, he made a decision. "How about this? The 3 of you don't have to call me Elder Lu. Just follow Little Han's example and call me Elder Lu." "Elder Lu? Elder! I think the 3 of us should call you Grandpa Lu. You are more than old enough to be our ancestor. Qingqing Xiaoyu, right?" Yi Qingwu blinked. She felt that calling Elder Lu by his name was a little disrespectful, so she suggested. When Yi Qingyu heard Elder Lu mention Yi Qinghan, she frowned slightly and asked worriedly, "Grandpa Lu, has my brother not come out of seclusion yet?" "Little Yu has already become a deity. Why wouldn't I come out to take a look?" Before Elder Lu could speak, a gentle voice sounded from outside, causing the 3 of them to be stunned. Xiaohei immediately chirped and jumped out of Yi Qingyu's arms, running into the distance. Chapter 407. Big brother, you finally came out of seclusion. I missed you so much. Xiao He turned around the corridor and threw himself into Yi Qinghan's arms. His small claws kept scratching Yi Qinghan's body, and the horn on his head rubbed against him. He hadn't seen Yi Qinghan for 2 years, so he missed him very much. Xiao He, we haven't seen each other for 2 years. Why haven't you grown up? Don't worry, big brother is fine. Yi Qinghan patted Xiao He's hair dotingly and transmitted his voice to him as he walked inside. Brother, Qinghan, little Han. He turned a corner and walked to the corridor in front of the bedroom. Then, he saw 3 figures rushing towards him. Yi Qingyu threw herself at him with a sobbing voice and hugged him. Girl, why are you crying? You have become a god, so you should be happy. Yi Qinghan hugged Yi Qingyu with one hand and patted her back. Then, he turned his head to look at Yu Qingsheng, who was beaming with joy, and smiled. Finally, he looked at Yi Qingwu, who had a complicated expression on her face. He waved at them and said, Little peach blossom, little rose, we haven't seen each other for 3 years. Don't you want to come and hug me? Oh! Yi Qingwu looked at Yi Qinghan's face, which hadn't changed much since 3 years ago. She looked at the evil smile on his face and saw his affectionate eyes, which were the same as 3 years ago. When she saw his eyes, Yi Qingwu's heart, which had been tangled for 3 years, was finally at ease. Yi Qinghan didn't blame her, nor did he hate her. He still loved her deeply, and he was still her little rose. She couldn't bear it anymore. She ran over in tears, stretched out her hands, and hugged Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu. Then, she burst into tears. Yu Qingsheng didn't hesitate either. She threw herself at Yi Qinghan and hugged him from behind. Tears gushed out from the corners of her eyes. The 3 years of separation made them feel as if they had been separated for several lifetimes. The 4 of them hugged each other tightly, and the 3 women cried tears of joy, causing the atmosphere in the corridor to suddenly become sad. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He just smiled faintly, feeling the deep love from the 3 of them. The smile at the corner of his mouth became wider. The fighting spirit that occasionally flashed in his eyes also became firmer. Cough. I say, you 4, can you not treat this old man as transparent? Lil Han, I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you're not even going to greet me? Elder Lu's teasing laughter caused the atmosphere to dissipate abruptly. When the 3 women heard this, they all blushed and let go of Yi Qinghan. They hurriedly wiped the tears from the corners of their eyes, lowered their heads, and became slightly embarrassed. Greetings, Elder Lu. I'm sorry to have caused everyone to worry. Yi Qinghan gave Elder Lu a grateful look. He looked at everyone apologetically and fell silent. He felt that the atmosphere was a little serious. He smiled at Yi Qingyu and said, How is it? Lil Yu, how does it feel to become a god? Do you feel anything special? Yi Qinghan's change of topic piqued Yu Qingsheng and Yi Qingwu's interest. They looked at Yi Qingyu curiously. The 2 of them had seen god-level elites before, but they didn't feel pressured when they saw Yi Qingyu. Instead, they felt that she was becoming more and more pitiful. How should I say this? The moment I became a god, I felt that the energy in my body was becoming more and more vigorous. Moreover, my body seemed to have become one with the divine crystal. The scenery around me was also different. I feel that this world is very fresh, very comfortable, and very warm. Yi Qingyu had just become a god, and there were many things that she had yet to explore. She could only rely on her own feelings and said, Brother, I feel that I can regain my black hair if I want to. But after so many years, I'm used to it, so I don't intend to regain it. While it's good too. When you become a god, the laws of heaven and earth will send down auspicious clouds and purple lightning to transform your body, giving you a long lifespan. It also means that heaven and earth have completely acknowledged you. Therefore, you will be more compatible with heaven and earth, and it will be easier for you to experience the wonders of heaven and earth. In other words, you will be one with heaven and earth. Elder Lu smiled and continued to explain when he saw that the few of them were curious. As for your divine crystal's fusion with your body, It is because you have comprehended the laws within the divine crystal, and the divine crystal has acknowledged you. The moment you become a god, this divine crystal truly belongs to you and is connected to your bloodline. Turning your hair black? Even if your limbs are broken, the divine crystal can slowly regenerate them, let alone change the color of your hair. This is because the divine crystal has recorded the characteristics of your body, just like the laws that you have comprehended. As long as the soul of an immortal is not destroyed, as long as the divine crystal is not destroyed, it is equivalent to an immortal body. That's amazing. I will start my secluded cultivation tomorrow and strive to become a god as soon as possible. Yi Qingwu stuck out her tongue, and a hopeful look appeared in her eyes. Yi Qinghan's affectionate look completely untied the knot in her heart, and her mood returned to the eccentric and pitiful state she had been 3 years ago. Don't be in a hurry to cultivate. After staying in this remote pavilion for 3 years, you must be tired of it. Go out and relax and adjust your state of mind. Only then will you be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and smiled faintly. His calm temperament and abrupt words stunned the 3 girls slightly. Well, not bad, not bad. Little Han, you have finally grown up. Elder Lu's eyes flashed with a hint of admiration, and his goat-like face was full of smiles. Going to the Purple Island? Yes. Thank you for your trouble, Elder Lu. Yi Qinghan nodded and lowered his head to stroke Xiaohei's head. He continued, let's go to the Purple Island to have some fun. If you want to cultivate, you can enter the Carefree Pavilion for secluded cultivation. After resting for a while, I will go into secluded cultivation again, and this time, I am afraid it will be very long. In these 3 years, Yi Qinghan's cultivation did not improve, but his state of mind had become extremely mature and firm. Things had already happened. Rather than wallowing in the silent regret of the past, it was better to work hard to grasp the present, cherish every day, and strive hard. Only by grasping the present could he have a better tomorrow. Only then could he do what he wanted to do, such as protecting his loved ones and taking revenge. Yes, Yu Qingcheng and the others looked at Yi Qinghan and did not say much, only nodding their heads. They could feel the pain suppressed in the depths of Yi Qinghan's heart beneath his calm and gentle appearance. As his women, they could not resolve this kind of pain, nor could they bear it for him. Only the price of blood could make him pass away completely. Elder Lu did not say much. He closed his eyes and released his divine senses. After a while, he nodded at Yi Qinghan and said, let's go out. Yi Qinghan put Xiaohei down and gave the 3 women a reassuring look. He and Elder Lu disappeared from the Carefree Pavilion. The last time they had entered the Carefree Pavilion, they had been in the sky above the hidden city. If they wanted to leave now, they could only appear in the same place. Elder Lu used his divine senses to scan the sky above the hidden city and locked onto the position of the Purple Island. After the 2 of them flashed out of the Carefree Pavilion, Elder Lu teleported with Yi Qinghan before their bodies could appear above the hidden city. However, the spatial fluctuations above the hidden city attracted the attention of some people. The island lord of the hidden island, who was fishing by the sea, tilted his head slightly. The 13 elders in the mountains outside the hidden city swept their gazes over the hidden city at the same time. In a restaurant in the hidden city, an old man wearing a bamboo hat was also shocked. He looked through the window at the sky, which had returned to its original state, and continued to drink his wine. All the sages in the city felt the fluctuations. However, when they looked over, the sky had returned to its original state. Chapter 408. Is this the Purple Island? Oh my God! It's so beautiful. I like it so much. Yi Qinghan and Elder Lu teleported to the Purple Island. Yi Qinghan didn't even look at it as he quickly opened the door to the Carefree Pavilion. He then flashed in and came out with the 3 ladies and Xiaohei. When they came out, the 3 ladies were stunned. Their eyes were filled with amazement and fascination. Yi Qingwu even cried out involuntarily. The few of them stood on a small hill and looked over. Their eyes were filled with purple flowers, purple grass, purple trees, purple stones, and even the sky was emitting a faint purple glow. The purple island was huge, and they couldn't see the end of it. The terrain of the purple island was very flat. There were only a few small hills. At the foot of the hill, there was a small valley with a small pond. Beside the pond, there was a herd of antelopes with purple rings all over their bodies drinking water. They were startled by Yi Qingwu's voice and started running around in a panic. Apart from the yellow soil, there was only a small amount of green grass and trees. Everything else was purple. The entire purple island seemed to be covered with a layer of purple wedding dress. It was dreamy and beautiful. Ahem, don't be in a hurry to look. Let me tell you something. You must remember it well. Otherwise, you will be killed immediately. No one will be able to save you. Elder Lu's dry cough and his words attracted their attention. Once they heard that it was a serious matter, they didn't dare to be careless. They all listened attentively. There are 11 islands in the Purple Island. The other 10 islands can't be seen by the naked eye. Moreover, they aren't in the Flame Dragon Plain. There is a transportation array in the center of the Purple Island. You can teleport there. That is the passageway to the Immortal Realm. We are now on the first island of the Purple Island. It is also the safest place in the Flame Dragon Plain. Do you see the purple glow in the sky? This is the restriction of the Purple Island. Anyone who releases Battle Chi or attacks with Battle Chi on this island will trigger the restriction of the Purple Island and be killed immediately. There are no exceptions. Therefore, you must remember that on this Purple Island, don't even use your Battle Chi. Just treat yourself as an ordinary person. Only then will you be absolutely safe. Don't even run your Battle Chi? Yi Qinghan paused for a moment. He knew that Elder Lu was worried about their safety. However, when he thought of Xiaohe, who was in his arms, he asked curiously, "Where is Xiaohe? Xiaohe can't walk around here?" Magical beasts that haven't reached godhood are fine. Actually, the only way to activate the restrictions here is to use the elemental energy of heaven and earth to attack. For example, you could kill those antelopes with your physical strength, but you couldn't use Battle Chi or the laws of heaven and earth to attack. Xiaohe has not become a god yet, so his attacks are completely based on his body's instincts. Therefore, Xiaohe is safe here. Elder Lu chuckled as he looked at Xiaohe and explained, "Gigi." Yi Qinghan had told Xiaohe not to move the moment he came out. Now that he heard Elder Lu's explanation, he immediately became excited. He jumped out of Yi Qinghan's arms and ran toward the herd of antelopes. He had been cooped up in the distant pagoda for 3 years. All right, if Master Divine Butcher comes here and attacks with his willpower, will he activate the restrictions? Yi Qinghan suddenly thought of a question. Although he had already guessed it, he still asked to be safe. Willpower is also a type of law of heaven and earth. If Master Divine Butcher comes here, he won't dare to attack. He's just a cripple. If he dares to come, I will smash him. Without willpower, he's nothing. Elder Lu raised his eyebrows and said arrogantly, "Rest assured and stay here. This restriction can prevent divine senses from probing. I think he won't find out for a while. Even if he does, it'll be fine." Grandpa Lu, I would like to ask you something. Can I understand the divine sound law here? I'm just playing the Guqin. It won't affect my Battle Chi. Yu Qingqing suddenly thought of a problem. The divine sound law that she understood was a special soul-type law. Therefore, understanding the laws was the most important thing. She didn't need to cultivate her Battle Chi. It would slowly improve along with her soul. She liked this place very much. She had a feeling that cultivating here would definitely be faster than cultivating in the Carefree Pagoda. Therefore, she asked nervously, "It's all right." Elder Lu waved his hand and said, "You just have to remember not to release your Battle Chi. It's best if you seal your meridians temporarily and don't let your Battle Chi circulate. You can do anything else. Also, it's easier to understand the laws of heaven and earth if you cultivate here. All right, you can play here. I'm going back to cultivate." After explaining, Elder Lu tactfully entered the Carefree Pagoda through the main door, leaving the space for Yi Qinghan and the others. He was also an experienced person and knew that absence made the heart grow fonder. Yi Qinghan was prepared to cultivate for a long time. Therefore, he didn't intend to close the passageway to the Carefree Pagoda. This way, the three ladies and Xiao Hei could come and go at any time. In any case, outsiders couldn't enter the carefree pagoda. Even if Master Divine Butcher came, he wouldn't dare to refine this door. Gigi, boss, I want to eat barbecued meat. I haven't had barbecued meat in a long time. As soon as Elder Lu left, Xiao Hei shot over from afar. His tiny body was dragging a purple-striped antelope that was many times bigger than him. He excitedly transmitted his voice to Yi Qinghan. All of you seal your meridians. I'll barbecue meat for you and let you have a taste of my cooking. Yi Qinghan sealed his meridians and smiled at them. He strode toward Xiao Hei, grabbed the antelope in his mouth, and walked toward the pond. Yay! I haven't had meat in 3 years. I'm dying of craving. When Yi Qingwu heard that there was barbecued meat to eat, she immediately sealed her meridians and rushed toward Yi Qinghan with a cheer. At the pond, the few of them had a delicious meal and enjoyed hot meat that they hadn't had in 3 years. After that, Yi Qinghan started to get busy. He took out a large number of items from his carefree ring, took out the slaughter god blade, and chopped a few big trees to build their little nest on the Purple Island. Yi Qinghan had bought a lot of things in the Black Tortoise City and the Hidden City. He was prepared to build a little cold heart pavilion on the Purple Island. After all, they weren't going to stay here for a day or two. Of course, he couldn't let them sleep in the wilderness. When the three ladies saw that they were going to build their own little nest, they got excited. All of them sealed their meridians and started to help Yi Qinghan with his work. However, Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingcheng were born as young mistresses. They had never done such things before. Instead, they seemed to be making things more difficult the more they helped. In the end, Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu decisively let the two of them watch from the side. They only helped to pass some tools. Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu's father had passed away when they were young, and their mother was bedridden. Their status in the clan was low, but they were very familiar with these menial tasks. Although their battle chi was sealed, their cultivation base was very high. Their physical qualities were comparable to ordinary general realm experts. Hence, it was very easy for them to do these ordinary tasks. After a busy day, before night fell, a small purple pavilion had already appeared out of thin air beside the small pond. The pavilion was very small, and it only had a small hall for rooms and a few small rooms. The construction was also very simple. Not to mention the Cold Heart Pavilion. It was far inferior to Yi Qingwu's graceful dance garden. However, it was obvious that the four of them were in a good mood and were very satisfied. This was the love nest that the four of them had built together. Night fell, and a bright moon rose in the sky. The gentle light shone through the purple light barrier on the Purple Island and covered the entire island. The entire Purple Island was enveloped in a beautiful purple light. Clang, clang, in front of the pavilion, in a simple courtyard, Yi Qinghan reclined on an ancient vine bench. Yi Qingwu and Yi Qingyu quietly leaned on his two sides. Xiao Hei was also quietly curled up on the table next to him and dozed off. Yu Qingcheng sat cross-legged in the courtyard and played the zither. The melodious sound of the zither echoed throughout the Purple Island, making the beautiful night even more mysterious and elegant. After one song, Yi Qinghan lazily stood up and stretched. He suddenly said to the three of them in a serious tone, "I really want to live with you like this without any worries until the end of time. However, there are some things that I must do. I am very sorry. I can only accompany you for 5 days. After that, I will have to go into seclusion." 5 days? Yes. The three of them looked at Yi Qinghan at the same time and sighed in surprise. They had been separated for 3 years, but they could only meet for 5 days. After that, they would have to separate again. However, the three of them didn't say anything. They only stood up and leaned towards Yi Qinghan. They all understood that Yi Qinghan was working hard and fighting for the sake of being able to stay together like this forever. A short separation was for an eternity. Yi Qinghan looked at the three beautiful and sensible women with a trace of gratification in his eyes. He looked deeply at the three of them and suddenly smiled evilly. There's not much time left. Everyone should rest early. Then, the three of you should discuss among yourselves, who should I spend the night chatting with? How about all three? Chapter 409. Parting for 3 years, parting for a short time, and newlyweds. 3 years was obviously not a short time, so tonight was more important than a newlyweds. When the three of them heard Yi Qinghan's words, their eyes clearly lit up. Then, a blush appeared on their faces at the same time, and they lowered their eyebrows shyly without saying a word. "Brother, what shameful words are you saying? I'm going back to sleep." Yi Qingyu twitched her nose, looked at Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingsheng, and turned to leave. Her temperament was the kindest, and she was very clear that tonight, the three of them actually wanted Yi Qinghan to accompany them, to talk about the pain of parting. But there was only one Yi Qinghan, so she very obediently withdrew, leaving Yi Qinghan to the other two. "Qinghan, Sister Xiao Wu has suffered these 3 years. You should properly accompany her." Yu Qingqing's temperament was indifferent. When she saw Yi Qingyu leave, she immediately thought of Yi Qingwu's loneliness and self-blame in these 3 years. She smiled at Yi Qinghan and transmitted her voice to him, then picked up the jade zither and said to Yi Qingwu, "I'm tired. I'm going back to rest first. Sister Xiao Wu, we'll trouble you to accompany our lord husband." "Ah, I'm tired too, little Han. I'm leaving." Yi Qingwu saw that the two of them had left and was even more embarrassed. She stuck out her tongue at Yi Qinghan and hurriedly turned to run away. But just as she turned around, she was tightly hugged by 2 strong and powerful big hands. "Where do you think you're going? Tonight it's you, hee, my little rose. Serve your husband well." Yi Qinghan carried Yi Qingwu horizontally and lowered his head to smile at her. Under the purple moonlight, a face that was as pure as it was 3 years ago, and a body that was getting more and more plump. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva and directly rushed towards the largest room. He rushed into the room and closed the door with 1 foot. He sent a telepathic message to Xiao He, asking it to stand guard. After that, he directly threw Yi Qingwu onto the big bed. He exerted strength in his calves and pounced on her, hugging her delicate body and kissing her violently. Yi Qingwu wanted to say something, but she felt Yi Qinghan's burning passion and smelled the familiar manly scent that she hadn't smelled for 3 years. She thought back to the pain she had suffered in her heart over the past 3 years. She thought back to Yi Qinghan's pain. She thought back to Yi Qinghan's passionate gaze when he had come out of seclusion. She thought back to the crazy times the two of them had spent together in the chilling Heart Pavilion and the Carefree Pavilion. Her heart instantly felt as if it had been ignited. Her entire body heated up, and she went crazy. She didn't say anything else, and she didn't have any misgivings. Instead, she pushed Yi Qinghan onto the big bed, and her beautiful legs directly straddled his body. She smiled charmingly at Yi Qinghan and leaned down. Her beautiful red lips directly blocked Yi Qinghan's slightly open mouth, and she began kissing Yi Qinghan like crazy. Her lily-white hands stroked Yi Qinghan's face and lower body. After that, her lily-white hands trembled slightly as she began to undress him. However, as she undressed him, she realized that she couldn't untie him. In the end, she actually began to forcefully tear at Yi Qinghan's robes. Gulp. Gulp. Looking at Yi Qingwu, who was constantly twisting on his body like a wild cat in heat, Yi Qinghan was slightly stunned. He swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva, and his eyes bulged. He also began to desperately tear at Yi Qingwu's clothes. He had been holding back for 3 years, and the fire of lust in his heart had long burned his eyebrows. For a moment, the air was filled with torn clothes, and the 2 shining white bodies were constantly twisting. The room suddenly became boundless. He accompanied the 3 of them for 5 days. Every day, he didn't think about anything, and he didn't do anything. He only brought the 3 of them and Xiao He to wander around the Purple Island. He enjoyed the unique and beautiful scenery of the Purple Island and felt the relaxed and comfortable life. However, once night fell, Yi Qinghan became busy. He took turns shuttling back and forth between the 3 rooms. He devoted his deep love and boiling hot bodily fluids to the 3 of them. Every night, there would be a low panting sound in the valley, and 3 different styles of extremely suppressive tenderness. The knot in Yi Qingwu's heart was finally untied under the persuasion of Yi Qinghan and Yu Qingqing. She had completely recovered her mischievous and eccentric self in the past. The 5 days of life were very fulfilling and also very sweet. The only thing that made Yi Qinghan feel a little regretful was that the three of them were firmly against sleeping on the same bed and then making love together. This made Yi Qinghan's long-awaited dream of having a naked party become a bubble. Little Qingcheng, little Yu, I'm going in. Remember, if there's anything, we'll talk about it after entering the free and unfettered pavilion. Of course, you don't need to worry too much. Elder Lu will leave a trace of his divine sense outside, so you can cultivate in peace. Yu Qingcheng decided to cultivate outside, and Yi Qingyu was not in a hurry to cultivate either. She had just become a god, and there was still a lot of knowledge that needed to be digested, such as teleportation and the release of divine sense. Moreover, they had sealed their meridians, so they were not worried about triggering the restriction formation. As for the divine sense, it belonged to the use of the soul, so it would not trigger the restriction formation. Thus, Yi Qingyu decided to accompany Yu Qingcheng on the Purple Island. As for Xiaohe, Yi Qinghan, who was in seclusion, he naturally chose to play on the Purple Island. The black Kirin fruit that Lord Devour had given him had been completely refined. Now, he only needed to digest it slowly, so he did not need to cultivate at all. Yi Qingwu decided to enter the carefree pavilion to cultivate in seclusion. She wanted to comprehend the mysteries of the divine crystal as soon as possible, and become a god as soon as possible. Of course, Yi Qinghan decided to place the carefree pavilion's teleportation gate in the small courtyard. It was not closed, so he could come and go at any time. The Purple Island could not use the essence qi, so there was no danger. Thus, Yi Qinghan was not worried. After giving some instructions, he directly walked into the carefree pavilion with Yi Qingwu. They did not talk much, nor did they feel sad about parting. They were both beautiful women. They just looked at Yi Qinghan encouragingly, and then gently waved their hands. Boss, try your best to cultivate. I feel that after I finish digesting this black Kirin fruit, in about 6 or 7 years, I will enter the mature realm. Haha, at that time, I will become a divine beast, and you still haven't reached the sacred realm. It will be really embarrassing. Xiaohe chirped, sending him a message. His 2 small eyes were full of reluctance. He had been summoned by Yi Qinghan in that valley. After that, he had never left him. The last time he left him was 2 years ago, and he didn't know how long they would be apart this time. Although he could feel Yi Qinghan's existence through his soul, he couldn't communicate with him or play with him, which was really uncomfortable. Haha, believe me, I will become a god as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan smiled. His smile was bright and confident. Then, he took Yi Qingwu and walked into the teleportation gate of the carefree pavilion without turning his head back. The sky in Song City was a little gloomy, although it had been sunny recently. 3 years ago, the pagans had descended. Outside Song City, a pig slaughtering knife dripping with blood and Lord Devour had attacked. Song City's reputation had almost overshadowed the entire God City. Many people came to Song City with respect and gratitude. After that, many people had settled down in Song City. At that time, they had thought that Song City was the safest place, the holy city that could protect them. However, a giant gold hand had slapped the mountain behind the Yi family and even smashed the ancestral grave of the Yi family into pieces. Then, that intimidating bald man had issued an order that the Yi family's members couldn't leave Song City. They had thought that this time, it would be the same as the time when the pagans had descended. The god of the Yi family would stand up, and the pig slaughtering knife would continue to drip blood, tearing that damn bald man into pieces. However, they were disappointed. No one from the Yi family dared to accept the challenge. Thus, they started to feel restless. Half of the Moon Queen, an expert from the God City with a garlic nose, led a group of people to move into Song City. They immediately accepted the protection of Song City and sealed off the city. This time, the god of the Yi family still didn't appear. They started to panic. Some people even started to flee with their families. After a while, a rumor spread from the hidden city. the god of the Yi family. He actually died. He self-destructed in front of millions of people in the hidden city. This time, many residents of Song City were completely terrified. They started to think of ways to leave Song City. However, the god-slaying guards didn't care much about these ordinary people leaving. Half a year later, the once bustling main city gradually became desolate and quiet. It became somewhat lifeless. The sky in Song City also became gloomy. Chapter 410. The members of the Yi family did not leave. Of course, it was not that no one wanted to leave, but Yi Baihu had sealed up the Yi family's castle. No one from the Yi family was allowed to enter or leave. Those who wanted to escape were dragged to the torture hall and executed in front of everyone. Yi Ruoshui was dead. Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu were nowhere to be found. The Yi family had suffered the greatest loss in history. Faced with the crazy divine master too, they could not provoke him and did not dare to. This was because the Yi family could not afford to be hurt. Yi Baihu was afraid that this provocation would bring a real disaster to the Yi family, a disaster that could wipe them out. Yi Tianlong went into seclusion. Yi Qingyo went into seclusion. Yi Baihu did not hide anything about the situation that the Yi family was facing. He announced everything to everyone in the Yi family. After hearing Yi Baihu's words, most of them did not say anything and went back. Yi Chong went into seclusion. Yi Tianqing went into seclusion. Yi Tianqing. Countless members of the Yi family gritted their teeth and went into seclusion. They did not know what would happen to the Yi family and whether the Yi family would be wiped out. All they knew was to cultivate, to work hard, to do everything they could to cultivate. Even though they did not know what was the use of cultivating, how long could they cultivate, and what realm could they reach? Yi Ruoshui's death and the palm strike from the divine master at the back of the mountain had infuriated all the members of the Yi family. His domineering announcement had triggered the desire for survival in the Yi family. All the members of the Yi family understood a cruel fact. If they wanted to survive and take revenge, they could only cultivate. The sky in the God City was gloomy because the divine master's face had never been clear. The God Massacre guards were filled with hope as they waited for the divine master's good news. However, after the divine master went out, he did not say anything when he returned. He just asked the burning God guards to find another 10 young girls. After that, a series of screams and cries rang out in the study again. The 4 of them didn't dare to ask anything and quietly waited outside the study for news. Unexpectedly, the divine Lord remained silent. He would only let the burning God guards bring people in every 2 days to carry the corpses out. Half of the Moon Queen, the Massacre God Guard, couldn't take it anymore and asked. However, what he got in return was a palm strike that caused him to be bedridden for half a year. The Divine Master, too, did not give up. He used his divine senses to search for Yi Qinghan for a year, but to no avail. After a year, he was tired. After giving an order, he fell silent. The God-slaying guards were sent to Song City, while the God-slaying guards brought countless soul slaves and secret guards to scatter across the continent to search for news of Yi Qinghan. The entire sky above the continent darkened because of Master God 2's furious attack. The deity realm experts of the 3 prefectures and 1 island all issued orders at the same time. They were not to provoke anyone from the divine city, or they would be killed on the spot. They were afraid that if the divine lord was enraged, the continent would repeat the scene that happened thousands of years ago. Master God 2 had not made a move for thousands of years, but once he did, he shocked all the experts on the continent. This made them feel gloomy. The gloominess of the continent's deity realm experts spread to the sages, and then to the rest of the continent. Unknowingly, the continent's sky became very oppressive and gloomy. A few days ago, the spatial fluctuation in the sky above the hidden city had caused a slight tremor in the deathly silent mainland. Yi Qinghan disappeared from the hidden city. Therefore, the hidden city became the place that all the major forces paid the most attention to. The people from the House of Aries hoped to receive news of him. They hoped that his appearance would bring a ray of light to the human race. The barbarian race, demon race, and God City hoped that his appearance would release the Divine Lord's anger and restore peace to the continent. Although the fluctuation disappeared very quickly, it was obvious that many people were not willing to give up. The scouts from all the forces on the continent started to move and search everywhere. When the deity realm experts of the continent received the news, they also continued to use their divine senses to search. However, they still could not find Yi Qinghan. In the end, they gave up again. They thought that Yi Qinghan might have returned to his spatial divine item. However, countless scouts replaced their divine senses and continued to search everywhere on the continent. Yi Qinghan was indeed in his spatial divine item. After entering the unfettered pavilion, he encouraged Yi Qingwu and asked her to go back to her room to refine the divine crystal. Then, he teleported to Dark Moon's room. He would be in seclusion for a long time this time, so he wanted to see this poor lady. Dark Moon was still lying quietly on the jade bed like a sleeping beauty. 3 years had passed, but her appearance had not changed at all. It seemed like Elder Lu had fed her some youthful spirit medicine. It might be very difficult for ordinary people to maintain their appearance and not let the marks of time remain on their bodies. On the continent, only the Yu family's youthful pill had this effect, and it was very rare. The Yu family had only given 3 youthful pills to the 3 of them as dowry. It was very easy for deity realm experts to maintain their youth, and it was even easier for Elder Lu. Although there were not many elixirs in the divine realm that could maintain one's vitality, they were not particularly precious either. Don't worry, Dark Moon. One day, I will wake you up, and it won't take long. Yi Qinghan kissed Dark Moon's plump red lips lightly, smiled, and turned to leave. After bidding farewell to Elder Lu, he walked into the technique practicing room and sat cross-legged. However, he did not start cultivating immediately. Instead, he started to think carefully about some problems. He was thinking about how he could take revenge and kill Master God Tuesday previously. Yi Ruoshui and the other 4 had told him not to kill Master God Tuesday otherwise. He might be hunted down by the Divine Realm's law enforcement team, and the Divine Realm might destroy the Fire Dragon continent. He did not care about this point. To save Dark Moon, he had to kill Tuesday. To avenge Yi Ruoshui, he had to kill Tuesday. If the people of the Fire Dragon continent wanted to get rid of their fate of being kept in captivity, he had to kill Tuesday. He did not believe that the Divine Realm would be enraged and destroy the Fire Dragon plane if Tu was killed. Elder Lu had said that there were tens of billions of existential planes like the Flame Dragon plane. Could the Immortal Realm manage every single one of them? When the foreign tribes came, the Golden Horn Celestial race destroyed the Divine City. How could the Divine Realm not do anything? Even if the sky was destroyed, wasn't there still the powerful Lord Devour? Since he had decided to kill Tu, he did not hesitate. Instead, he started to think about how and what he would use to kill Tu. There was no need to think about Lord Devour. This woman was as cold as an iceberg. She did not do anything even after Yi Ruoshui died. Even if he committed suicide in front of her, she would not even look at him. Elder Lu was not Tu's match, let alone the other God-class experts. As for Yi Qingyu and the other 2, even if they finished refining the divine crystals, they would only be at the peak of the heavenly God realm like Elder Lu unless they broke through to the God general realm. However, was it possible that Elder Lu had not broken through after thousands of years? He started to think about all the treasures that could increase his strength. The Soul Ring was his strongest treasure. After all, it was the Soul Emperor's ring. It was a pity that it was damaged. After searching for a long time, he only found a healing ability. He also asked Elder Lu how to repair it. However, Elder Lu said that it was impossible to repair it without going to the Divine Realm. As for the other treasures, he did not need to consider them. The only things left were a divine sword and a slaughter god blade of unknown grade. He was not used to using the divine sword, and he had not found any other powerful abilities for the slaughter god blade. After thinking about it for half a day, he realized that the only things he could rely on were the space law and the body fusion technique. After spending half a day, he thought through everything. He also had a clear goal, that was to comprehend the space law and break through to the heavenly God realm. Chapter 411. Of the 5 profound mysteries of the law of space, Yi Ching-han had only comprehended the 2 fundamental mysteries of spatial ripple and spatial lockdown. There were 2 paths to becoming a god. The first was to comprehend the other 3 fundamental mysteries. The second was to fuse the 2 fundamental mysteries of spatial ripple and spatial lockdown into the elementary mystery of space. This path of cultivation was confirmed, but Yi Ching-han felt like a blind man walking at a crossroad. He knew there was a path ahead, but he didn't know where to go. He had no idea what the other 3 profound mysteries of space were. As for fusing the profound mysteries, he had no idea at all. Moreover, he couldn't ask others about the comprehension of the laws, because Elder Liu had once told him that one had to comprehend the profound mysteries on their own. If other experts guided you, not only would you not be able to comprehend it faster, it would easily lead you astray, and you would never be able to make any progress. Although I can directly become a god by fusing the profound mysteries of spatial ripple and spatial lockdown, it's obviously extremely difficult. Otherwise, the Sword Sovereign would have reached the peak of the heavenly god level after thousands of years. There's no need to think about this path. I'd better comprehend the other 3 profound mysteries. After a brief consideration, Yi Ching-han decisively gave up on the path of fusing the 2 profound mysteries to become a god. Even a heavenly god would need 1,000 years to do so. As a saint, he would definitely not succeed even if his brain exploded. Then the only path left was to comprehend the 3 profound mysteries of space. He turned around and faced the smooth wall on his left. He relaxed his entire body and got rid of all distracting thoughts. He circulated his battle chi in his eyes and stared at the wall. He decided to continuously comprehend the painting of the beach and see if he could quickly comprehend the profound mysteries. Last time, it was because he had comprehended a trace of the concept of the painting of the beach and a drop of water. When he had intercourse with Yu Qingsheng, he had entered a deep state of his soul. That was why he was lucky enough to comprehend the profound mysteries of spatial ripple and break through to the Saint Realm. As expected, after reaching the Saint Realm, this painting is different. Yi Ching-han saw that the wall was constantly glowing, and then he saw the familiar painting of the beach. This time was obviously different from the last time. Last time, the mountains were not mountains and the water was not water. Sometimes it felt very blurry, and sometimes it felt very clear. The sky full of raindrops fell from time to time, and sometimes it stopped. Everything seemed to be unpredictable. But now, it was completely blurry. At this moment, he could see everything. He could feel the surging waves, the falling raindrops, and the countless holes on the beach. However, everything was blurry and hazy, as if his eyes were covered with a layer of mist. This feeling was very strange. He couldn't see anything clearly, but he could feel everything. And this time, the time he lasted was twice as long as the previous time. A moment later, the scene in front of him disappeared, and he felt dizzy again. After recovering for a long time, he finally woke up. Shaking his head, he closed his eyes and began to digest what he had just seen. But strangely, he suddenly realized that he couldn't remember what he had just seen. He had no memory at all. Interesting, this picture really contains endless mysteries of space. It's 2F asterisk King Mysterious. I can't believe there's nothing left. Yi Ching-han laughed. He wasn't afraid of the mysteries of this picture. He was afraid that it wouldn't change. Now that there was a change, it would be easy. After resting for a moment, he continued to operate the battle aura in his eyes and continued to comprehend. Clang clang. In a small valley on the Purple Island, the sound of a zither could be heard from time to time. This sound was so melodious and clear, like the mountain spring playing in the Green Mountains. It was so elegant and free, like the majestic wind drifting over the willow branches. It was so gentle and beautiful, like the fluttering butterflies in the midst of hundreds of flowers. It was so cold and noble, like the red plum blossoms dancing in the snow. Under the effect of this magical zither music, a very strange thing happened in the entire valley. There was a pool in the valley, and it was the drinking place of the nearby magical beasts. But a few months ago, a small beast came. The small beast was very terrifying. None of the nearby magical beasts could resist it. Even the most powerful level 8 magical beast, the black leopard, died tragically under its claws. And all the magical beasts didn't dare to move under its imposing aura, let alone resist. So a few months ago, this valley became a forbidden area for the nearby magical beasts. But not long after, a beautiful sound came from the valley from time to time. All the nearby magical beasts who heard this sound felt very comfortable and warm. They actually unconsciously walked towards the valley. Then they lay in front of the small courtyard and began to close their eyes, listening to the sound with great enjoyment. Before the sound of the zither stopped, the whole valley was densely packed with countless magical beasts. Even the trees in front of the courtyard were covered with all kinds of magical beasts. When the sound of the zither stopped, all the magical beasts suddenly woke up. Looking at the black small beast above the courtyard, all the magical beasts ran away in fear. But the next day, they were attracted by the beautiful sound again. When the sound of the zither stopped, they woke up and ran away again. After a while, they stopped running, because the black small beast, for some reason, had stopped hunting them. Instead, it lay on the roof of the courtyard and dozed off every day. So a strange scene began to appear in the valley. When the sound of the zither started, countless magical beasts would orderly walk over from all directions. Then, they would lie in front of the courtyard in an even more orderly manner, quietly listening to the beautiful sound of the zither. When the sound of the zither stopped, they would slowly and leisurely walk away. Some of these magical beasts were strong, and some were weak. Some were even natural enemies. But none of the magical beasts dared to fight in the valley. They didn't dare to make a sound. They only listened quietly and then quietly left. This day happened to be the 4th month that Yi Qinghan had been in seclusion in the free pavilion. Yu Qingcheng had just finished playing the zither with a faint smile. Then, she stood up happily and stretched her body, revealing her perfect curves. The door to the room next to her suddenly opened. Yi Qingyu, with her silver hair draped over her shoulders, walked out like a fairy from the forest. "Little Yu, you've finally come out of seclusion." Yu Qingqing's smile widened. She took a few steps forward and took Yi Qingyu's hand as she spoke affectionately. Xiao He, who had been dozing off, was also startled awake. She flew down from the roof and threw herself into Yi Qingyu's arms, calling out affectionately, Aya, congratulations, big sister. You've actually broken through to the sage realm. Your divine sound law is too amazing. How can your cultivation speed be so fast? I feel like you've actually broken through after just a short period of seclusion. Yi Qingyu had just mastered the knowledge in her head in 4 months. She had learned how to release her divine sense and had also stabilized her god-tier cultivation. She didn't feel like she had been in seclusion for a long time. When she came out, she discovered that Yu Qingcheng had broken through to the sage realm. Actually, when I entered the deep state of spiritual stillness, I had already comprehended 2 types of divine sound profound mysteries. I have only comprehended 2 of them to the great perfection stage. 4 months ago, I was almost at the great perfection stage. This isn't surprising at all. Yu Qingqing smiled as she explained. Of course, she was also very proud of her cultivation speed and her unique nomological laws. Otherwise, she wouldn't have rejected the divine crystal that Yi Qinghan had given her. Stop chatting. Both of you enter the unfettered pavilion. Someone has entered the purple island. Yi Qingyu was just about to sigh when a voice suddenly rang out from the unfettered pavilion's transportation gate in the corner of the courtyard, startling the 2 of them. They turned around in shock and saw Elder Lu walking out with a black metal rod in his hand. The 2 of them were stunned. Without any hesitation, they dashed toward the gate and disappeared into the transportation passageway behind the gate. When Xiao He heard Elder Lu's words, he didn't follow the 2 of them. Instead, he leaped on Elder Lu's shoulder. Elder Lu wasn't offended. Instead, he smiled and said, "Let's go, Xiao He. Let's go meet our guest from afar." Chapter 412. Purple Island had always been one of the main targets of the continent's forces. In the first 3 years of Yi Qinghan's seclusion, Divine Master Du had personally come to the island twice, and countless spies would come to the island every few months to investigate. However, Purple Island, like the barbaric mountains and the misty forest, had many powerful magical beasts. These spies only wandered around and didn't dare to go too deep. Purple Island was the most troublesome and dangerous. Outside the island, there were 3 groups of people coming from 3 different directions. They were the Divine City's Secret Guard, the Demon Shadow Leopard Clan, and the Hua family's assassins. These 3 groups actually knew each other's existence, but it was obvious that the Hua family's Secret Guard and the Demon Clan had taken a detour to avoid the Divine City's Secret Guard. They circled around Purple Island and came to the island from 2 other directions. All of you, seal your meridians and spread out to investigate. Release the signal if anything happens. The Divine City Secret Guard were all covered in golden robes, as if afraid that others wouldn't know they were from the Divine City. The leader at the front waved his hand, and the dozens of people behind him spread out, but their speed was obviously not fast. With their meridians sealed, and without the support of battle aura, their strength was greatly reduced by the strength of their bodies. This was also the reason why the spies were unwilling to come to Purple Island to investigate. There were a few upper-tier magical beasts here, and their leader was only at the peak of the Overlord realm. Without the support of battle aura, he was only at the peak of the noble realm. If they encountered a magical beast of the 8th level, they would die if they didn't run fast enough. Compared to the Divine City spies, the Demon Shadow Leopard Clan and the Hua family's assassins were much more relaxed. Needless to say, the Hua family's existence made them the most powerful scouts on the continent. Although they couldn't use battle aura on Purple Island and could only sneak around for a short while, it was more than enough to save their lives. The Shadow Leopard Clan was the fastest clan on the continent. Even without the support of demon power, they were still much faster than others of the same level. Once the spies of the 3 clans arrived on the island, they spread out. They were very cautious and didn't dare to make a sound. They quietly moved through the purple bushes. Gigi, Blackie took the lead. His body moved like lightning as he traversed the Purple Island. His little face was full of excitement. After being locked up in the Carefree Pavilion for 3 years, it was very excited when it first came to the Purple Island. However, after staying on the island for half a day, the Moon Queen became bored again. There were only 6 level 8 magical beasts on the island. The black-striped panther closest to the valley was easily killed by it, so there were only 5 left. The rest of the magical beasts didn't even need to fight against a divine beast that was about to mature and whose strength had reached the sage level. They just felt the faint divine power that was inadvertently released from its body and immediately submitted to it. Therefore, it began to feel bored again. It didn't even bother to look at the magical beasts that were attracted by Yu Qingqing's zither every day, nor did it have the interest to torture and kill them. This was like letting an adult bully a child. It might be interesting at first, but it would become boring after a long time. Now that it heard that someone had come to the island, it was naturally excited again, like a bored child who had discovered a novel toy. Elder Lu had said that with its low-tier sage level strength, it would be fine even if a god-grade expert came. It was absolutely safe on the Purple Island. Of course, what Elder Lu said was also wrong. In fact, Xiaohe was absolutely safe in the entire Fire Dragon Plain. With Lord Devour's existence, even if the god-grade experts of the Fire Dragon continent were given 100 guts, they wouldn't dare to hurt Xiaohe. Of course, the abnormal Lord God, too, was an exception. Xiaohe, wait! Elder Lu's telepathic message made Xiaohe's sprinting figure stop. It looked at Elder Lu with its 2 shining eyes in puzzlement. I saw someone coming to the island just now. I thought it was a group of experts who had discovered our existence. Now that I have investigated carefully, it turns out that it is a group of scouts. Then we don't have to expose ourselves. Elder Lu reached out to stroke his beard, his eyes twinkling as he pondered. Gigi. Although Xiaohe couldn't speak and could only transmit telepathic messages to Yi Qinghan through their souls, it could easily understand the human language. Did this mean that there was no need to expose themselves? That meant that it couldn't play with him? It glared at Elder Lu with its eyes bulging in disappointment and let out two angry cries, as if to express its protest. Haha, don't be angry. Elder Lu, of course, knew what Xiao He was thinking from its expression. He chuckled and suddenly bent over to whisper a few words to Xiao He. Gigi. Xiao He's eyes lit up as it understood what Elder Lu meant. It quickly stood up and nodded its head like a human. Its two claws danced in the air as it became extremely excited. There are 3 groups of people on the island now. The one in the north belongs to the House of Aries. Don't hurt them, just drive them out of the Purple Island. As for the one in the west and the one in the south, you can play with them as long as you don't expose yourself. Elder Lu smiled and pointed at Xiao He. He then waved his hand, indicating that it could play to its heart's content. Gigi. Xiao He was so happy that it somersaulted twice in the air before it turned into a sharp sword and dashed toward the island. Elder Lu smiled faintly and pondered for a moment. Then his figure flashed and followed. Xiao He's identity was unusual. Although he knew that nothing would happen to him on the Purple Island, he still felt that it was safer to follow him. There were 5 upper-level 8 magical beasts on the Purple Island, but there were more than 10 lower-level 8 magical beasts and countless lower-level 6, 7, and 7 magical beasts. Xiao He continued to traverse through the dense forest of the Violet Island. The countless magical beasts in the forest were startled by the sight of this small figure. Then, they all trembled and prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to move. Xiao He didn't even look at them. He didn't stop and ran toward the nearest upper-level 8 magical beast, the horned black python's cave. Chi. The horned black python sensed 2 powerful auras rushing towards it from afar. It hurriedly drilled out of its cave and raised its triangular head, which was larger than a human's body. A single white horn flickered with a faint black light. Its blood-red, triangular eyes stared coldly in front of it. Its mouth was wide open, revealing its white teeth and scarlet tongue. The chilling aura it exuded was enough to make people shudder. Gigi. However, when it heard this familiar voice and the small black figure that was rushing toward it, its triangular eyes suddenly shrank. The triangular eyes suddenly shrank, and the cold light inside suddenly softened. The huge head that was raised high immediately lowered, and the light from the horn on its head stopped flickering. It was like a big worm crawling on the ground, very meekly looking at the approaching little black. Gigi. Gigi, Gigi. Xiao He didn't care about the black python's sudden change in attitude. He stood up straight in front of the horned black python. It was very excited. It waved its 2 little claws and cried out incessantly. It seemed to be communicating in the language of beasts. Almost all magical beasts of the 8th level had a high level of intelligence. For example, the silver moon 2-headed wolf and the black dragon that Yi Qinghan met on the Nether Island already had a high level of intelligence. Chi-chi. After Xiao He let out a series of G-G sounds, the horned black python opposite him blinked its blood-red triangular eyes, then raised its huge head and nodded continuously. After emitting a few chi-chi sounds, its thick and long body quickly twisted and disappeared into the depths of the jungle. Gigi! Xiao He cried out twice excitedly. He looked at Elder Lu, who was following behind him proudly, then turned and continued running to the left. Chapter 413. The leader of the Hua family was a second-level emperor. His name was Hua Shi. He was originally an elder of the Hua family's Hall of Battle. However, the god-rank experts of the House of Aries and the Yi family were very concerned about Yi Qinghan's whereabouts and life. Yu Shishui went to the Hua family and asked them to search for Yi Qinghan with all their might. She wanted to reassure the god-rank experts and the Yi family. She also wanted to help him if there was a chance. Therefore, the Hua family patriarch agreed after some consideration. He sent out a group of elders to search for Yi Qinghan. Actually, Hua Shi was slightly dissatisfied with the Hua family's orders. He heard from various sources that Yi Qinghan had become the Divine Master's must-kill target. What could the House of Aries do even if they found him? Who could protect him? How could they help him? Since they could not protect him, what could they do even if they found him? Furthermore, he was just a disciple of the Yi family with potential. The Yi family was facing the danger of extinction. What could a disciple of the Yi family do? However, he was dissatisfied, but he did not disobey the orders of the Hua family Hall of Elders. He ordered his subordinates to search from the north of Purple Island towards the south. They were very familiar with the terrain and distribution of powerful demonic beasts on Purple Island. They did not need to be warned, nor would they go near. They were only told to hide and hide if they encountered scouts from other clans or the Divine City. In recent years, scouts from various factions often encountered them. However, they were obviously suppressed and rarely had any conflicts. They carried out their own missions. However, not long after the Hua family assassins started their search, a loud dragon roar sounded from the south. It frightened all the Hua family spies so much that they panicked. However, when they saw a huge double-headed silver dragon rise from the southern sky, their panic turned into terror. Roar! Following this, a loud tiger roar sounded from the west, followed by several cries of pain. All of the Hua family's assassins halted their footsteps at the first instance. They entered into the stealth collectively and gathered towards Hua Shi's direction. Hua Shi had planned this beforehand. Once there was a situation, they would gather towards him and wait for his orders. Elder! Countless disciples of the Hua family gathered towards Hua Shi and nodded at him. Then, they spread out in all directions cautiously and vigilantly. Hua Shi waited until the last two disciples arrived safely from the left before he felt relieved. He gestured for all the Hua family assassins to hide. With a few leaps, he climbed to the top of a towering tree and looked to the south and west. When Hua Shi heard the wolf roars from the west and south again, his relaxed expression turned serious again. When Hua Shi heard the continuous wolf howls from the west and south again, his expression that had just relaxed became incomparably solemn again. In the past 3 years, he had brought people to Purple Island to explore countless times. Except for 2 of his disciples who accidentally ran into a group of 7th-level magical beasts and were slaughtered, he had never seen the magical beasts riot here. In fact, the existence of high-level magical beasts on the Purple Island was no secret to the major forces and clans of the entire continent. The twin-headed silver dragon in the south and the 3-eyed iron-backed tiger in the east were the strongest magical beasts on the Purple Island. If one wasn't a martial saint, they would definitely die. The God City and the Demon Clan are finished. Listening to the continuous screams and howls of wolves, Hua Shi knew very well that both teams were finished, without exception. He made up his mind so hastily. It was not because the 2 strongest demonic beasts were on the move. It was because of the wolf howls in the south and west. Dark demonic wind wolves, Purple Island's most terrifying killer, demonic beasts of the upper 7th level. Even he would die if he were to face them. There were too many demonic wind wolves. There were thousands of them. Their speed was comparable to the Shadow Leopard clan. There were less than 200 demonic Divine City and demons on the island. Yet, they had to face the 2 strongest demonic beasts of the upper 8th level and thousands of dark demonic wind wolves. The result was obvious. Chi. At this moment, Hua Shi heard a special sound. When he looked towards the south vigilantly, he heard a strange sound. He looked to the south and saw the bushes in front of him were shaking. The shaking was spreading towards him. His expression suddenly became incomparably frightened. His legs suddenly stomped on the thick tree trunk, and he shot towards the north. His body was still in midair as he shouted, "Run! Leave the Purple Island!" When the Hua clan disciples heard this, they did not hesitate and ran towards the north. They used all their strength to run. However, when they ran out of the beach outside of the Purple Island's restriction, they did not find any danger. But when they saw Hua Shi jump on the Hua clan's boat without saying a word, they did not dare to hesitate and jumped on the boat as fast as they could. Set sail. Leave this place at the fastest speed. Hua Shi did not explain to the crowd. He stared at the Purple Island and quickly gave an order. After the boat sailed for an hour, the purple island in the distance had become the size of a fist. Huashi finally heaved a sigh of relief. Although he did not see it clearly, he could tell from the movement and the aura of the demonic beast. He could easily tell that it was another demonic beast on the island. It was an upper 8th level horned black python. After thinking for a moment, he still could not figure out why the black python did not attack them. He was very clear that if the black python wanted to attack, at least half of them would have to stay on the purple island. Without much hesitation, he ordered his men to continue advancing at full speed to the hidden island. He wanted to report the shocking news to the Hua clan supreme elder of the hidden city. At the same time, the west and south sides of the purple island had turned into purgatory. Just as the people from the divine city and the demon clan were carefully avoiding the strongholds of the high-level demonic beasts, they quietly passed through the forest. They suddenly felt a chill run through their bodies. Then, they heard the dragon and tiger roar that resounded through the entire purple island. The leaders of the divine city and the demon clan immediately gave the order to retreat. However, just as everyone was running back in fear, they realized in despair that there were countless wolf roars coming from behind them. Countless gray shadows rushed over from all directions like a gust of wind. In an instant, they were all surrounded. Due to the huge difference in strength, the battle was not very intense. It ended in a few minutes. The leader of the divine city was locked on by a green-white tiger with 3 eyes. In less than half a minute, the lower half of his body was torn to pieces. If a peak Emperor Realm expert used his battle force, he could still fight against the 3-eyed iron-back tiger for a while. If he was lucky, he might be able to escape. However, right now his meridians were sealed. He could only use his physical strength. Of course, he could not block a few moves. Just as he closed his eyes and waited for his death, he realized that the 3-eyed tiger did not continue to attack. Or rather, it moved its mouth. Then, he heard a strange roar. The 3-eyed white tiger actually put down its claws that were pressing on his chest. It didn't even look at him and turned around. Then, it actually squatted down and crawled on the ground with its tail between its legs. The ferocious aura on its body was immediately withdrawn. It was as if a violent and powerful demonic beast had instantly turned into a docile house cat. Gigi, just as he was very confused and turned his head with difficulty to look in the direction of the sound, what he saw was a shocking scene. He saw a small beast with a black horn the size of 2 palms. It stood upright and raised its head. It took small steps and arrogantly walked over with a group of wind wolves. Its eyes and expression were like that of a general inspecting the battlefield with his soldiers. After a while, he suddenly came to his senses. He also understood why these demonic beasts, which had never taken the initiative to attack, would go berserk this time. According to the information given to him by the Godslayer guards, the identity of this small beast was very clear. It was the target that the Divine City had been searching for 3.5 years. It was Yi Qinghan's war beast, the soul-devouring beast. Gigi. After killing the leader of the Divine City with a single claw, Xiaohe looked at Elder Lu, who was slowly following him. Xiaohe's eyes were filled with disappointment. It seemed to be complaining that there were too few people who came. Before it could play enough, all of them were already dead. Let's go. Let's go back. Elder Lu waved at Xiaohe and smiled. Don't worry. This purple island will become more and more lively in the future. You will definitely have a good time. Chapter 414. What? In a remote attic in the hidden city, the Grand Supreme Elder of the Hua clan, Hua Xiang, was enjoying the concealed fog tea, which was unique to the hidden city. Suddenly, the door was opened, and Huashi walked in quickly. He bowed and immediately transmitted a message to him. Huaxiang spat out the tea in his mouth and cried out involuntarily. He raised his eyebrows and immediately transmitted a message to the Hua family members outside, asking them to be on guard. Then, he released his divine domain and stared at Huashi. Tell me everything you saw, heard, and encountered on the Purple Island without missing a word. This is very important. Huashi realized that he did not do anything wrong. After he left the Purple Island and confirmed that it was safe, he asked his subordinates to rush back. He flew in the air as fast as he could and quietly rushed back to the hidden island to meet Huaxiang. When he saw Huaxiang's reaction, he knew that the news was very important. He quickly told him everything without missing a word. All the demon clan scouts in the Divine City were killed. The demonic beasts on the Purple Island rebelled. After Huaxiang heard this, her eyebrows furrowed and she fell silent. After a while, he suddenly shouted, "Number 18. Following his shout, a black-clothed man quickly dashed in from outside and knelt on one knee. He did not say a word and only stared coldly at Huaxiang. "As fast as you can, take number 6, number 9, and number 20 to the Purple Island. Drive all the ships on the west and north of the Purple Island to a place 200 li to the south of the Purple Island. Then attack the dragon sharks there, and let them destroy all the ships. Remember, speed and concealment are the most important. Also, if you are exposed, kill yourselves." After Huaxiang finished speaking, the black-clothed man did not say a word and immediately ran out of the door. The family's secret death warriors? Huashi immediately guessed that this was the Hua family's death warriors who reported directly to the clan leader and the Grand Supreme Elder. However, when he heard Huaxiang's last sentence, Huashi was secretly shocked. This matter was so serious that 4 Emperor Realm Death Warriors of the Hua family had to be sacrificed? Why are you standing there? Immediately sneak back to the ship and tell your team that you did not see or encounter anything on the Purple Island. Just do the same as the previous times you explored the Purple Island. After that, he would come back and rest here for a year. If there are any leaks, kill them immediately. Huashi was still trying to figure it out, but Huaxiang's expression was very serious as she spoke again. He didn't dare to ask any more questions. He bowed and left. Huaxiang summoned a few more people and gave a few orders. After that, he sat silently in the room for a long time before sighing slightly. He looked to the east and sighed doubtfully. This brat actually ran to Zidao? How did he get there? Could it be related to the spatial fluctuation from half a year ago? Forget it. This brat has too many secrets. Since he dares to go to the Purple Island, he must have something to rely on. Sigh. Kid, I can only help you this much. I hope you can bring us miracles one after another like you did in the past. Of course, Yi Qinghan didn't bring them any more miracles this time. Even during the 3.5 years that he was away from the mainland, his cultivation level didn't improve at all. He was still stuck at the Saint Realm, and he had not even fully mastered the symbol of the Saint Realm. After 3 years of closed-door cultivation, he only figured out one thing and completely stabilized his mentality. This time, he had been in closed-door cultivation for more than half a year and comprehended the painting of the beach in the rain for more than half a year. However, what he saw was still a blur. When he woke up, he found that his mind was still blank. There was nothing. He hadn't even started on any of the 3 major mysteries of space, let alone comprehending them. In these 3.5 years, the only improvement he made was in his battle chi cultivation. The godly energy in the carefree pavilion entered his body along with his breathing unknowingly. Finally, it could slowly and automatically transform into battle chi in his body. In these 3.5 years, his battle chi cultivation had almost reached the peak of the first level of the Saint Realm. The golden core in his dantian was also getting smaller and brighter. What kind of bird painting is this? After being forced out of the painting once again, Yi Qinghan rested for a while. When he meditated again, he found that his mind was still blank, and he couldn't remember anything. He let out a long breath tiredly and shook his dizzy head slightly before closing his eyes. He stretched out his legs and held the back of his head with both hands. Then, he lay down on the floor and rested. Comprehending for a long time had made him very mentally exhausted. At his level, it didn't matter if his body was tired, but if he used too much of his soul, the damage to his body would be even greater. Therefore, he didn't dare to be too stubborn. Every time he felt that it was about time, he would rest for a while before continuing to comprehend. Although he was tired, he didn't feel discouraged at all. His mind was still very calm. He knew that comprehending the laws wasn't something that could be accomplished overnight. Yi Tianlong had cultivated for 50 to 60 years and was only at the second level of the Saint Realm. He had entered the Saint Realm at the age of 48 and had comprehended for close to 30 years. Yet, he had only reached the initial mastery of the fourth mystery of the Earth laws. Although he had the painting of the beach in the rain and had better conditions and opportunities than anyone else on the continent, he wasn't confident that he could continuously make breakthroughs in a short period of time. After resting for an hour, Yi Qinghan felt that his soul had more or less recovered. He let out a long breath and opened his eyes. He was prepared to sit cross-legged and continue comprehending that strange painting of the beach in the rain. However, he had forgotten one thing. He had forgotten that there was an even stranger painting above his head. He opened his eyes and saw some strange patterns on the bright and clean ceiling above his head. These patterns formed a very strange image. Before he could see the image clearly, it suddenly moved. He vaguely saw a pair of huge eyes. Then he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head, and he immediately fainted. The first time Elder Lu brought him to see the painting of the beach in the rain, Elder Lu had warned him not to look at the image above his head. At that time, he didn't believe it and took a look. In the end, he had fainted for several days. After that, he didn't dare to look at it again. This time, he was too tired from comprehending the painting and forgot about it. Therefore, he won the bid again. However, it seemed that this time, it was slightly different from the last time. The mysterious disappearance of a scouting team from the Divine City and the demon race was not kept a secret for long. Half a month later, the two sides found several damaged fleets. After some investigation, although they had some suspicions, the two sides didn't pursue the matter. After all, it wasn't unheard of for demonic beasts to destroy ships and kill humans. The East Sea and South Sea were boundless, and there were countless powerful sacred beasts in the sea. However, when the two factions sent another scouting team to the Purple Island, they were completely annihilated by Xiao Hei's demonic beasts and destroyed all the ships. This finally aroused the two factions' suspicions. However, they were only suspicions. Therefore, the Divine City sent another team led by a sage and 200 Divine City secret guards to the Purple Island. Send an order to the God-slaying guards to report the situation on the Purple Island and the Hidden Island. Send an order for all the Divine City secret guards to gather in the Hidden City and follow me to the Purple Island to investigate. After a month, there was still no news of that team. The God-slaying guards in the Hidden City finally couldn't take it anymore and decided to personally investigate. At the same time, to be on the safe side, they sent the news to the Divine City overnight and asked the God-slaying guards to meet the Divine Master and ask for his decision. A few days later, under Hua Xiang's worried gaze, two large ships sailed out of the Hidden City. The God-slaying guards led 2 Saint-leveled experts and nearly 100 Emperor-leveled experts towards the Purple Island. Chapter 415. Divine City, Immortal Slaughtering Pavilion. The Massacre God Guard held a secret letter with a bitter expression. He looked at the burning God Guard and said, "Take a look at this news. I think it's true. If it's true, it will be a great merit. It's a pity that my body hasn't fully recovered and it's hard for me to walk. Why don't you go and meet the Divine Master to report?" The burning God Guard took the letter and took a few glances before her charming face turned bitter. Recently, the Divine Master Slaughtering Pavilion's temper was getting worse, and his character was getting more and more perverted. Every time she sent people over, she would tremble in fear that the Divine Master Slaughtering Pavilion would suddenly be interested in her and asked her to accompany him to play. Now that the Divine City was on the brink of a riot, she didn't dare to capture people in the Divine City anymore. Every day, she had to send out a large number of envoys to the 3 prefectures to secretly bring people back. She was extremely busy. Now that the God-slaying guards had brought back an ambiguous piece of information, the God-slaying guards were obviously afraid of the Divine Master. They were afraid that the Divine Master would make a trip for nothing, and the Divine Master would make them lie in bed for half a year or something. But if he didn't tell the Divine Master, he wouldn't be able to escape punishment if anything happened. Therefore, it was obvious that he wanted her to stand up for him. The burning god guard wasn't a fool and instantly figured out what was going on. But the massacre god guard was the head of the 4 god guards, and she didn't dare to offend him. She scolded in her heart and smiled apologetically. It has been a few days since the news spread from Hidden Island to the Divine City. I believe the Slaughter God Guard should be arriving at Purple Island soon. Why don't you wait for him to investigate before meeting the Divine Master? The Massacre God Guard heard this, and his expression turned bitter. This burning God Guard was obviously not giving him face, and his words were watertight. After pondering for a moment, he felt that her words made sense. He waved his hand and decided to wait for the Slaughter God Guard to bring back the news before meeting the Divine Master. The Slaughter God Guard had already arrived at Purple Island, but he didn't enter the island immediately. Instead, he circled around the island. When he saw the wrecked hulls of the ships on the south and west coast of the island, he saw the huge claw marks on the ships. His complexion became dignified. The huge claw marks were about 3 to 4 meters in length and width. Moreover, they could easily smash the sturdy ships into pieces with just a single claw. All of you stay outside and wait for my orders. Number 3 and number 4, follow me into the island. The god-slaying guard pondered for a moment and came to a decision. He would have all the martial emperors stay outside the island. As a precaution, he would bring 2 martial saints with him to explore the island. The 3 of them flew up into the air and landed on the beach outside of the Purple Island. They sealed their meridians at the same time, took out their weapons, and flashed into the restrictive barrier of the Purple Island. As soon as he entered, he immediately became fully alert and observed. After observing for a while, they didn't discover anything. Purple Island was still quiet and beautiful. Everywhere was shining with a dreamy purple color. The Godslayer guard signaled with his eyes, and the 3 of them began to advance slowly. As they cautiously and slowly made their way through, they encountered countless low-level magical beasts. When these magical beasts saw the 3 of them, they didn't attack. Instead, they fled in terror. The 3 of them even encountered a level 8 low-level magical beast, a dragon-horn rhinoceros. However, when it saw the 3 of them, it immediately fled. There's nothing special. Could it be that it wasn't an attack from the magical beasts of the Purple Island? A trace of doubt flashed in the Godslayer guard's eyes, but he didn't let his guard down and continued to investigate, until the 3 of them encountered a level 8 single-horned black python. After a short battle, the black python fled in terror. Only then did the Godslayer guard completely relax. It seemed that the matter didn't originate from the Purple Island. The magical beasts here were as normal as before, and they were very afraid of outsiders. After all, those who came to the Purple Island in the past were all martial gods. The magical beasts were all beaten to the point of fear. They simply didn't dare to fight with outsiders. Number 3, let all the secret guards come in and carefully investigate the Purple Island. The Godslayer guard stopped. Since there was no problem with the Purple Island, he didn't feel like continuing to investigate. He was used to letting his subordinates handle these trivial matters. His eyes flickered incessantly as he pondered about those terrifying big claw marks on the big ship outside. What kind of terrifying magical beast left them? There didn't seem to be such a big level 8 magical beast on the Purple Island. Could it be a magical beast from the sea? All right, everyone has entered the island. In the small valley of the Purple Island, Elder Liu, who was sitting cross-legged in a small courtyard with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and smiled at Xiaohei, who was staring at him nervously, and said, "Bring your main force and set off." This time, there are hundreds of experts. You can have some fun this time. When Xiaohei heard this, his 2 small eyes suddenly lit up, and with a shio sound, he directly jumped out of the courtyard. In the valley outside the courtyard stood countless magical beasts, and these magical beasts were actually lined up neatly in a square formation. At the forefront, there were only 5 magical beasts: a giant silver dragon with 2 heads, a black python with a white horn, a big white tiger with 3 eyes, a huge purple wolf that was 5 or 6 meters long, and on the left stood a small black bear that looked like an ordinary beast. After the 5 magical beasts, there were no other magical beasts. All of them were dark demon wind wolves. At a glance, one couldn't see the end of the black mass, and there were at least thousands of them. Ayo! Roar! Chi! When these magical beasts saw Xiao Hei's small figure jumping out of the courtyard, all of them simultaneously lowered their heads and called out in a low voice. However, their bodies were not disorderly, and they still lined up neatly. Gigi! 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 Xiao Hei jumped in front, immediately stood up, raised his small head, stuck out his small belly, and waved his 2 small claws left and right. Every now and then, he would nod here and there, and at the same time, he would let out a continuous Gigi sound. His 2 small bright eyeballs kept moving, and his entire small face was full of excitement. Gigi! With a final cry, Xiao Hei seemed to have given the order and no longer made a sound. Instead, he coldly scanned the magical beast army in front of him. He seemed like a general giving an order and asking his subordinates, "Do you understand?" At this time, none of the magical beasts spoke, but all of them made a strange movement. Nodding. Thousands of magical beasts actually nodded at the same time, and they did not make a sound. This scene was very shocking, and even Elder Lu, who was slowly walking out, was slightly startled. Gigi! Xiao Hei cried out again, and with a wave of his 2 small claws, all the magical beasts turned around and quietly rushed in all directions in an orderly manner. It was as if they had become a well-trained magical beast army. Xiao Hei, this magical beast army, has trained well. When Elder Lu saw this scene, he was full of smiles as he gave Xiao Hei a thumbs up. Ever since the first time the 3 scouting teams came to the Purple Island, Xiao Hei had often wandered around alone. The Purple Island was very safe, and Elder Lu was very relieved. He had originally thought that Xiao Hei had gone out to play out of boredom, but now it seemed that Xiao Hei was actually training his magical beast army, and had trained them so well in such a short period of time. Gigi! When Xiao Hei heard Elder Lu's praise, he excitedly cried out twice, and immediately turned into a bolt of lightning as he ran forward. Elder Lu hurriedly followed. This time, there were 3 sage-level experts, and it was better to be more careful. Roar! Awu! The Godslayer guards looked at the countless wind wolves that were rushing in from all directions, and in an instant, they had surrounded all of them. They looked at the 3 powerful upper-tier class 8 magical beasts with overflowing auras and cold glints in their eyes, as if they were looking at dead people. His face suddenly became incomparably shocked. What? What was going on? These magical beasts had actually surrounded them before they had even realized it, and they had appeared at the same time, as if they had calculated the time. When he saw the ordinary beast like Xiao Hei bear in front of him, it suddenly let out a loud roar and stood up. Its small body suddenly grew several times larger, and in an instant, it had grown to more than 10 meters tall. Looking at the 2 giant palms that were as big as city gates, he instantly understood what kind of magical beast had left behind the large paw prints on the large ships outside. Chapter 416. Run! The Godslayer guard did not hesitate. With an angry roar, he leaped into the air, the glowing long sword in his hand, transforming into streaks of sword shadows in the air. He swept his sword in all directions and easily killed a few wind wolves. Then he suddenly shot towards the back. The 2 martial sages beside him did not hesitate either. They followed his footwork and charged towards the back. As for the martial emperors, they did not dare to charge as fiercely as the Godslayer guard. Instead, they all gathered together and charged towards the direction the Godslayer guard was escaping in. The Godslayer guard did not know what was going on. He did not know why these magical beasts had suddenly appeared without any warning. However, he was very clear that if they did not escape, they would all be annihilated. Without the support of Battle Chi, even the hill-sized black bear could easily tear them apart, not to mention the 3-eyed iron-back tiger and the purple flame demon wolf. If they were slapped by the huge paw, which was as large as an iron gate, they would definitely be smashed into a pile of meat paste. Run, run! This godforsaken place is too strange. The long sword in the Godslayer guard's hand danced in the air, cleaving apart the wind wolves that pounced at him. He did not dare to stop for even a moment. He raised his speed to the maximum and fled frantically from the island. He did not have time to consider what had happened on the island. At this moment, all he could think of was to escape and never return to this godforsaken place again. Although the three powerful magical beasts were rapidly chasing after the three of them, the distance between them was still maintained at a few dozen meters. As he looked at the approaching purple light shroud in front of him, he felt a slight sense of relief. He was glad that he had reacted quickly and escaped quickly enough. Ayo! Chi! However, this sense of relief had only just surfaced in his heart when it was immediately replaced by boundless fear. A loud dragon roar sounded in front of him, as well as the familiar sound of a black python's breath. Immediately after, he saw a huge two-headed silver dragon suddenly rise into the sky. It opened its mouth and directly breathed out two huge white dragon breaths, which instantly enveloped them. Frost dragon breath. The Godslayer guard and the two martial sages suddenly turned ashen. When this dragon breath enveloped them, they immediately felt a strange chill run through their bodies. Their bodies became numb and their speed of advance slowed down. Chi-chi. At this time, the thicket in front of them shook, and a huge triangular head popped out. A pair of blood-red eyes shone with a cold light. The white horn on its head was emitting a black light. It was the horned black python that they had encountered on the island. Shio! Suddenly, the horn on the black python's head grew brighter and brighter. A beam of black light suddenly shot out from the horn like a bolt of lightning, directly hitting the Godslayer guard at the front. The Godslayer guard wanted to dodge, but under the dragon's breath, his speed was instantly reduced. And this black light came too suddenly, too fast. As soon as he was struck, his body wasn't blasted flying, and it started to tremble incessantly instead. The hairs on his head and body stood on end while the skin on his entire body became charred black, and the smell of burnt flesh wafted through the air. The two Saint-grade martialists stared at the black python in disbelief. They remembered that this black python had been easily defeated by them just an hour ago. After a moment, the two of them looked at each other and understood that this was a trap. But what they didn't understand was, since when did magical beasts learn to lure their enemies in? Roar! As the three of them slowed down, the three level 8 magical beasts behind them easily caught up. The dragon and python in front of them surrounded them. It's over. The Godslayer guard watched as the silver dragon shook its two huge heads, ready to spit out two dragon's breaths at any moment. The white horn on the black python's head was also flashing with black light. The three magical beasts behind them walked over leisurely, their eyes flashing with mockery. They knew very well that they were all finished. With this double-headed silver dragon and black python around, their speed had become so slow that they couldn't escape at all. If they couldn't escape, they would die. GG. Just as the three of them were wondering why the magical beasts hadn't attacked them, a strange sound came from their left. Then, they saw a beautiful white lion cub. At this moment, they instantly understood many of the questions that had puzzled them today. On the head of that beautiful white lion, there was a small beast with a black horn. It was standing majestically on the lion's head, looking at them coldly, as if it were looking at three dead people. As the sound faded, two dragons' breaths and a black lightning bolt several times thicker than the previous one engulfed the three of them. Then, the huge black bear suddenly stomped its feet on the ground, leaving two deep footprints on the ground. Its body bounced up high, and two huge bear paws the size of city gates slammed down heavily on the three of them. Boom! The ground nearby trembled, and two huge claw marks appeared on the ground, as Piggy slammed into the ground a few meters deep. Xiaohei, tell them to retreat quickly. Just before the huge bear paws slammed down, Elder Lu's figure suddenly appeared behind them. Then, he picked up Xiaohei and retreated at lightning speed. Gigi. Although Xiao He didn't understand what was happening, he obeyed Elder Lu's words and immediately gave the order to retreat. Before Xiao He's order was passed down, the few magical beasts had already felt that something was wrong. Now that Xiao He had given the order, they immediately retreated frantically without hesitation. But the huge black bear didn't retreat. Instead, after a loud roar, its body rapidly shrunk, and it returned to its original appearance of a small, ordinary black bear. Then, it suddenly made a strange movement. It actually hugged its head with its two front paws, curled its body into a ball, and rolled backwards. Boom! All of a sudden, the purple light barrier above the purple island flashed, and two thick white lightning bolts directly smashed down on the two huge bear paw prints. At the same time, there was a huge explosion. Mud, grass, and branches flew everywhere, and the entire ground nearby shook. The huge shock wave directly uprooted all the trees in all directions, and the ground within 100 meters was scraped off a few layers. The two huge paw prints in the middle had actually turned into huge conical pits. Under the huge explosion, the largest two-headed silver dragon was directly sent flying, and the three-eyed white tiger was also smashed into the air by the shock wave. The black python and the giant purple wolf were relatively less injured, but the black bear that was closest to them was directly sent rolling hundreds of meters away by the shock wave. However, it patted its butt and was completely fine. You actually want to use battle chi? You're courting death. All right, let the magical beasts go back to recuperate. Those three people have already been blasted by the restriction of the Purple Island, and the rest of the Emperor Tier warriors have all been killed by the Wind Wolves. Your magical beast army is indeed very strong. Elder Lu carried Xiao He and ran quickly through the forest towards the small valley. He looked at the proud Xiao He and chuckled. But the next time, your magical beast army might not be needed. I reckon that damn Baldy will be here soon. When that time comes, I'm afraid that the two of us will have to fight. Chi. When Xiao He heard this, not only was he not discouraged, but he also became even more excited. His two beady eyes moved quickly, as if he was thinking about how to play the next battle. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.